a pretty hype match as a elimination round for one of these teams.
And of course, in the 2v2 combination randomizer, or at least in the Super Metroid Link to the Past randomizer combo, we only started in Super Metroid. One thing that we tend to see a lot of in these 2v2 races is you'll see these runners kind of split off early on in the race. Not everybody's necessarily going to be exploring Super Metroid for long, as we do have a portal to the light world of A Link to the Past just west of Hylia available to us right away. So it looks like our teams are splitting up.
Yep. Well, looks like the CCC team is going straight into Link to the Past. We're not going to have somebody checking Brinstar on their end. It is more item dense in Link to the Past, so it makes it a little bit different of a play to kind of go for where most of the items are.
And as far as the open mode locations that we're familiar with in A Link to the Past, we're finding just power bombs in Link's house and the super missile at the Sanctuary. Both very good items to find right away, of course, because you need them to explore in Super Metroid. But you're absolutely right. A lot of equipment available to us that is, good to explore in A Link to the Past just from the start of the game compared to, say, Super Metroid, where you need a whole lot of things very early on just to get around.
Yeah, we got a map check from Giselle there. Vanilla green pendant at Eastern, 5/6 crystal at Hera, and a regular crystal down at Desert.
Oh, and that's a bow and Brinstar.
Oh, they'll be going back to get that.
Yeah, Solski there trying to find a way to do a very difficult jump to get to that, and he may actually try taking advantage of a little bit of extra running space. That's a difficult jump to make, though.
There we go. Got that D boost.
Yeah, so you mentioned before that there's a green pendant at Eastern Palace. If you're not familiar with Link to the Past, that pendant, when turned into the old man Sahasrahla, also known as the Cowboy King of Eastern, will actually give us one item location. So very useful to keep that in mind. It's not in logic just yet, though. We do need a lamp, technically speaking, to access the Armos Knights in the back of that dungeon. But you don't have to have it to complete it if you know how to go in the dark.
Ooh, we got a screw attack there on the mushroom location of the Lost Woods. That opens up quite a bit in Super Metroid because you can use it to get towards the green Brinstar location through Terminator because it will break those bombable blocks.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, it breaks almost everything but pretty much speed booster blocks, right?
Yes.
Another item that we'll definitely be on the lookout for is that will gate us from a lot of different things. But we're getting further light world checks from, the rest of the runners in A Link to the Past right now. We've had a couple people pull on trees as well, because depending on the number of enemies you've killed since the last time you pulled on certain trees in Hyrule, you'll get a drop. But I've only seen hearts and green rupees, so nothing of significant value today.
Yep, and it looked like May's game also not holding anything of worth unless they decide to go through and pick up extra ammo that they may need if they're unable to find the charge beam.
And so just to kind of clarify a little bit about how this is cooperative, they're not necessarily interacting with each other's game directly. However, they are speaking with each other in a voice call, trying to coordinate their movements. For example, you see Elminster here is going to pick up some bombs since they don't have any rupees really to speak of so far, and try and find some of the bomb locations by farming early here. Whereas Gesellschaft's probably going to take a little bit of a gamble jumping into the well without a bomb, hoping to find one in there and get some of the items that way.
Nope, just 10 arrows to start. Big 20, a lot of love, and a little love.
The E-Tank that Solski finds here at the Uncle, though, definitely worthwhile. We don't necessarily need a ton of E-Tanks to beat Super Metroid, but the more you have, the better off you usually are, unless you are a god at Super Metroid, which, a lot of Link to the Past runners aren't.
Alright, first check here into Blind's Hut. We should be able to see all 5 items with Elm having picked up those bombs. A lot of big 20s, a lot of little love.
Yeah, finding quite a lot here. Team Canadian Cacatac crew kind of holding hands a little bit here in the basement, but Elminster was not paid off very well for picking up those bombs yet. We'll see if he can find anything else with the other bombs that he did farm here. He does save 50 rupees that he may end up spending on the bottle vendor shortly thereafter.
Yep, and we'll get to take a look at this item in the back of the well that Giselle was not able to pick up.
A fun little bit of game knowledge here from Solski, taking advantage of a error exception handling room called the Houlihan Room, based on a kid who won a Nintendo Power Contest in the late 80s, early 90s, named Chris Houlihan. Basically, when the game doesn't know what to do with Link's sprite when doing a certain room transition, it'll just send him there. And there's 255 rupees in there, so great way to farm rupees if you're thinking about, the Zora item, which costs 500.
Yep, and it was just power bombs in the back of the well. I am anticipating that Giselle, having come into blind set, will grab these here. I'm not sure if she'll go back, but it was also an E-Tank from the bottle vendor.
Yeah, so we're finding a fair amount of health pretty early on, and that may be relevant for certain runners who, want to consider the harder hellways, I guess, the hell runs in Super Metroid. I definitely think I might see that from ElminsterRTA. I'm not exactly certain on the Super Metroid competency of Maniacal42 or Solski, both of which I've definitely seen run a link to the past.
Coincidence, as you mentioned, that Maniacal and Elminster actually have a little bit of a long-standing rivalry. This is the fourth or fifth time that they've been paired up in either Link to the Past or Super Metroid in previous tournaments.
I forgot I'd seen that in the Discord.
Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely a lot of talent in both teams here, and a lot of cross-game knowledge, too. And that rivalry, hopefully, we get some resolution here today. I'd love to see one of the two of them going head-to-head for the first to finish the seed.
They also may be going head-to-head in the 1-versus-1 Super Metroid Link to the Past randomizer that's also being ran through a different channel. So I don't know that their little race rivalry will ever end.
It smells of inevitability that we will see them in every tournament they participate in.
Yeah.
But the real question is, Maniacal, not going for the chicken clip. I'm a little disappointed.
Yeah.
I would say he was chicken, but
All right, so Canadian Cack Attack crew on the right, while Elm is in Eastern, Giselle gets the high jump boots in Mini Moldorm. Couple ammo, E-Tank, and 50 rupees. But Canadian Cack Attack crew has not been to Blue Brinstar yet, so they don't have the bow, so they're not going to be able to full clear. They'll have to make it back.
Yeah, and Team Canadian Cack Attack crew does not know about that bow. Neither of them have been through Super Metroid, however, Maniacal and Solski are both aware, so it seems pretty reasonable here that Solski would head right to Eastern, and Maniacal would try and find things on the other side of it.
Yep.
And Elminster isn't here without the bow, so he's not going to get very far. And that's one thing that stinks about it too, is you kind of hope that you're going to find it in the palace itself, but not looking like it's going to be a good time for him today.
Yeah. Ice Shard Cave is a big 20. So now we'll have to just see if Eastern is going to pay off with an item that will help Canadian Cack Attack crew. Oh, Wave Beam definitely helps.
Yeah, there are, if you ever played Super Metroid, of course, there are plenty of weapon upgrades to find in the game, and every beam, is going to get you a little bit closer to some faster boss kill strats, some faster enemy kills, and experienced Super Metroid runners really know how to mix and match, particularly the randomizer runners know how to deal with different equipment sets. But for those who are a little bit newer to the game, like, for example, Gesellschaft and possibly Solski a bit, actually, I can't speak for Solski. I haven't seen him play Super Metroid. But for those who are a little less experienced, it makes a pretty big difference, whether or not you have a full kit walking into, say, Mother Brain.
And we'll have to see here as Elm finishes up the dark rooms in Eastern if this vanilla big key chest is a compass, then there is an item on Armos, and that bow will be required to both get that item as well as the green pendant. Otherwise, it may just be compass on Armos. Well.
Yeah, and of course, we don't actually technically have to have a bow to kill Armos. We do need a bow to get there. There is a couple of red Igors that can only be killed by bow. It looks like Elminster here is going to jump into Super Metroid, though, second person in the stream to do so. or at least Solski stayed in Super Metroid, may have realized that he needed to find something, and I think he's gonna luck out here by finding that bow.
Yeah, it's I'm not sure if it's a good thing or a bad thing that he did not pick up the space or the screw attack, because that might send him towards Green Brinstar, which would put him further away from the bow. Oh, he's going back into Link to the Past. Okay, maybe he is going to get the screw attack.
So sometimes you'll see people in these cooperative runs do some things that look kind of strange. This is probably an artifact of them communicating with each other. There's a lot of information that's shared between both runners, and you may see runners just kind of like turn around in the middle of what they're doing, and that's pretty much why they would do that. You know, they're relying on their partners pretty heavily here. We get to see some nice bomb strats from Gesellschaft here. Unfortunately, ran out of bombs, can't kill the blue guard. Gonna miss the bottom of escape, which is kind of a bummer.
And Maniacal's doing a pretty tricky little jump here. Doesn't seem like they, the Bootless Suitless group went to Mini Moldorm Cave yet, so they haven't gotten the high jump boots. Trying to wall jump up that area is very, very tricky and precise.
I don't blame him for giving up on that, because honestly, I couldn't do that.
Me either.
But you'll definitely see a lot of people try.
Alright, and Solski has made it through the dark rooms here in Eastern Palace, so he is on his way to Armos. We'll find out what that second item, or the third item is here in Eastern, as well as get that green pendant and find out if that is going to help out our runners as well.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the easiest dungeons to complete if you have at least the bow. You know, you don't really need a sword for much in here. In fact, if you pick up pots and throw them, you can pretty much kill everything besides the Igors and Armos, of course. Fun fact, you can throw the boomerang about a bajillion times if you want to kill Armos Knights that don't have arrows.
Yeah, I think it's like 12 hits per Armos Knight with the boomerang. It's pretty ridiculous.
I like to call it wrong button hover practice.
There you go. So
Solski pulls off his fast kill.
Yeah. Looks like he's got it set up. Elm did come back to get the high jump boots as well as the screw attack from Link to the Past and a sword off of Armos.
Well, that's pretty interesting. First sword is logically important for a couple of reasons. We needed to open up a couple of walls, one in Skull Woods and, you know, Hyrule Castle Tower if we decide to kill Aghanim today. So pretty relevant to have at least one. And then, of course, Master Sword will give us access to the tablets once we have the Book of Medora, and a couple of other important things like the front door of the castle tower.
Yep, exactly. Giselle finding that bow as Elm heads up to the gauntlet area, doing what Maniacal was trying to do, but with high jump, it makes it much easier.
Yeah, that looked pretty easy the way you did that.
Alright, and Elm going through what we call the Super Metroid Gauntlet, a little bit different than the Link to the Past Ganon Tower Gauntlet climb. There are 3 items that are locked behind this little lava area. One of them here at this Chozo, which is the red boomerang.
Elminster being the real Link to the Past fan of speed, he does not want the lag frames. I really admire and salute his choice to not pick up that red boomerang of despair.
For sure.
Personally, I think he made a good choice.
Oh, and the morph ball at Terminator.
Well, morph ball is pretty significant, isn't it?
I would say so. That screw attack is definitely the logic that brings us to the morph ball there.
So that's going to help us with a lot of small spaces, and of course Super Metroid's full of them. We do have power bombs, of course, super missiles, and regular missiles to work with as well for various doors and secrets. So this does give us a lot of the world available to us compared to where we started when we first booted up. I'm curious to see where we're going to find some of the other movement upgrades for Super Metroid, because they could be quite literally anywhere. in either game, depending on the logic.
All right, and the green, the Brinstar reserve room is a super missile, Spazer, and a heart piece.
Well, the Chozo statue offers its love and its weaponry back in the vault behind itself, but Spazer we're definitely going to pick up.
At least until we get Plasma.
Yeah, Plasma would be pretty powerful right now.
Bomb Chorizo only appearing to have a arrow capacity upgrade, so I don't think that we will see Giselle make it back through there.
I'm honestly kind of surprised to see this much Super Metroid this early on. A lot of racers will try to get as much done in Link to the Past, even sequence breaking if necessary. And we may see Solski do a bomb setup here to get a fake flipper here where you can trick the game into thinking that you have flippers when you don't. He's even doing some pumping in the water. I like his style. This will give him access to the hobo under the bridge. He didn't check Lake Hylia, which I'm confused about. Maybe they jumped off the ledge earlier. This can, of course, get him towards the Zora area as well.
Elm is also doing a sequence break of his own, or at least trying to go for the continuous wall jump to make it over the moat towards Wrecked Ship.
Wow. For a second there, I thought he was going to continue that jump. This is a pretty difficult jump to do. You have to jump right off of the bottom space and bounce off of that tower at the same time. So definitely something that everybody who wants to try it has practiced, but doesn't mean it's easy to pull off.
And he gets it. All right.
Sick.
It's first try, right? I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know, for how much you got to practice to get some of those tricks down, like you can see the setup that Elm had, in the doorway. Lots of things in Super Metroid are very execution heavy, very much like performative.
Yeah.
Ooh, we find our first shield as well.
Right.
Shield's not that important, but we do have some things that could be in logic behind, say, a mirror shield, possibly. Mushroom here in a Maniacal screen. That is a fetch quest as well.
Solski picking up his Screw Attack now that Maniacal has passed on the information that he will need that in order to get the Morph Ball.
I think it's pretty interesting that we're heading into Wrecked Ship so early. There are a lot of things you can knock out of the way while you're here. You can kill Fantoon, which is an annoying boss.
Ooh, second sword!
Oh, is that on Gesellschaft screen?
Yep. They're the Atakun's power bombs.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, I believe that's her first sword, because we haven't been to Armos Knights yet, but all the same, I mean, finding two swords, really valuable. You get the access to the sword beams, of course, and then the tablets later on. And of course, it's just better to be able to fight with a stronger weapon in A Link to the Past. We will be under equipment for a while.
So both Maniacal and Solski know where they can find their second sword items. As Maniacal picked up that same sword, I may have just missed it when he cleared Etakun's. And obviously Solski, having finished Eastern Palace, also has that sword from Armos. And Elm here with the Fantoon fight, just going through the Doppler strat.
This isn't a scary fight at all, come on.
No, not with 3 energy tanks at all, no.
It'll always blow my mind how much people were able to do in low percent, and how much that carries over to stuff like this. Of course, I could end up commentary cursing him, so maybe I should back off for a second here.
Maybe, but it is Elm, so.
Fair enough, and the fight seems to be going relatively smoothly. Fantoon, of course, and most enemies in Super Metroid, or most boss enemies, will glow a little bit more red and red as you start to defeat them. Unlike A Link to the Past, where they just kind of explode into a million pieces.
Giselle grabbing the Spospo super location. Elm finishes up Fantoon.
It also looks like we're going to see the rest of Hyrule Castle Escape Basement that Gesellschaft actually wasn't able to complete thanks to lack of a sword at the time and bombs. We didn't get to see Zelda's cell, so in a moment we'll get our final look at that item, because I believe that was a miss from Canadian Cactac Crew.
Yeah, and I think that Solski also picked up the lantern, so we may see through to the Dark Crossroom and the back of Escape as well.
He did stop at the Chicken Shack in Kakariko Village to pick up that lantern, so yeah, it makes a lot of sense to get it all done at the same time.
And Maniacal grabbed the Varia suit behind the Morph Ball location.
If you're unfamiliar with Super Metroid, that does give us the ability to withstand very high temperatures, and there's a few very important rooms where that's going to count above everything else. So we're not going to have to go run through hell itself and back to get out. We do find another upgrade to our armor, not quite in Super Metroid, but Elminster finds the blue mail for A Link to the Past.
And the Billy Mays location, not having very much today.
For 10 low installments of 5 rupees?
Yeah, exactly. Zelda's just only carrying a regular pack of missiles.
It would appear that Solski took a death warp there, although that could have actually just been a regular death.
No, I'm thinking he took the death warp to head to the dark escape area.
Yep, so in A Link to the Past, if you die, you return to the entrance of whatever dungeon or area you were in. If you're in the overworld, you start over from the file select menu practically, and you have certain warp points. Super Metroid, a lot more punishing though.
Alright, and Elm checking this item at the back of Wrecked Ship. So the back of Escape is actually key locked. There will be a small key in one of the 3 chests in the back of Escape, as the Dark Crossroom had a piece of heart. So we will have to pick up a glove upgrade to make it to that item check.
Yep, we have to push over a stone in the graveyard just east of the sanctuary. Kind of going in reverse, but definitely astute knowledge to remember that that key is going to have to be back there. I don't know if we saw a map yet or not, but not a problem. When we do end up going back there, and all of our runners, will, or at least some of our runners, will definitely be checking it. We'll definitely be grabbing everything anyway.
Yeah. Elm is clearing up the attic here, popping open that door so that he can just kind of sneak through this room out on his way back out, and we'll be checking the right side of the attic here.
Yeah, I saw this in his last race where he was, really eager to try to get to Wrecked Ship as soon as possible. Maybe thinking that other runners would not be as comfortable in this segment, being that it is somewhat of an advanced portion of the game for how low equipped they are.
300 rupees. Ooh, Solski finding the morph bombs at Agina's cave.
Yeah, that seems pretty appropriate. You gotta use a bomb to get in there. And that seems like the sort of thing that the Cowboy King of Eastern's cousin in the West would probably like. Well, so Solski finds that. That's something that I could definitely see Canadian Cactac Crew, CCC on the right, forgetting, as I believe both runners are a little reluctant to go to Agina's cave, even when they're just playing Link to the Past randomizer.
Yeah, I believe that both of them are kind of like wait until you get Flute or Meyer access with Mir to check those.
A couple more checks in the wreck ship area for ElminsterRTA. Gonna find an E-tank. Certainly not gonna ignore it. Although, if anybody would in this race, I could definitely see him doing that. And a little bit of overlapping checks from what our opponents or what our racers have, seen from each other and their teammates. Great time to, shout out these runners if you want to, catch the rest of their tournament life and kind of see more of either of these games. Definitely recommend giving these runners a follow. They're already putting on a pretty good show for us. We haven't even gotten to most of these dungeons yet.
Yeah, and also just a quick shout out to our trackers for the day. We have Link40 and Solski, who are helping us out respectively, tracking each team individually. So if just want to say thanks to them for helping us out, keeping us with our items in check.
We greatly appreciate it because there's a lot of screens to watch. Thank you. It almost looks to me like Elminster here is a bit of a bowler, maybe a curler. I don't know. He's Canadian, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So next up for the Canadian curling team, a chorizo statue. I don't think that's how the game's supposed to be played.
I don't think so either. But I mean, if it works, it works.
The real question is, what are we rewarded with?
Well, we already saw the item at the speedboat boost location was just a heart container. So at least they won't be requiring speed boost to get that. But here, this Chozo has missiles. I believe that's actually Vanilla Missiles location.
That's unfortunate. However, definitely out of the way. Elminster's having a pretty exhaustive check and actually gets a good B, which is important for a couple of reasons. Most importantly, though, we get access to the sick kid who will not give us the bug net in the vanilla game until you have a bottle in your inventory. In this case, he just has a random item.
Ooh, and Giselle finds the power glove at the Kraid missiles.
That's absolutely critical.
Yes. And Solski did do a bomb jump up to the Criteria power bomb gate and found a big 20.
Yeah, that is something that the Logic will sometimes ask of our runners. Potentially not today, but Solski's still doing it anyway. An infinite bomb jump, you can definitely do that with morph bombs. It's just kind of frustrating if you miss any. Oh, is that charge beam?
I don't know, but that was gravity suit from the mushroom.
Oh boy.
What?
All right, so Meridia area definitely on the table.
Yeah, we got both suits from Link to the Past, or from Zelda. Why do I keep saying that? For Super Metroid in Zelda. My bad.
Now, if I recall correctly, unlike certain entries in the series or certain versions of the game, Gravity Suit doesn't do anything for the heated rooms, right?
Not in this combo randomizer, that's correct.
Yeah, and while you kind of see the Gravity Suit as being just kind of like the next upgrade, and you can sort of skip Varia in, various versions of the game, we definitely need both if we're going to try to get the benefits of both.
And Solski finding the 300 rupees and missiles that Elm already saw earlier after picking up Morph Ball in the Terminator location.
It also looks like Gesellschaft was the first one to kill Kraid. It looked like a decent fight. I don't know if that actually, she actually got the fast kill on that, but
no,
it didn't take.
She did not.
Of course, killing bosses, besides the items that are usually around the bosses in Super Metroid, bosses themselves are just simply the gateway to Mother Brain in this particular game. We're not looking to kill certain bosses in a certain order besides just the convenience of getting around. So that does make 2 bosses for Canadian Cack Attack crew, but the question is going to be, will this glove give them enough of an advantage to get them farther out ahead and Link to the Past?
And Solski making the play over here to the Edicoons, probably thinking that he needs to pick up that second sword. Maybe thinking doing Aga 1 through Castle Tower.
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility. They do have that lantern, so it's in logic.
And there's our third sword. at the top of the red tower there for Maniacal.
Holy moly, what are you gonna find next? Game Boy Advanced and like a new Zelda cartridge? You know, his Four Swords is out there. Tempered Sword is by far the biggest damage upgrade, though, for swords.
Yeah, and while it did show red sword in the Super Metroid screen, the palette colors are off, but he actually only picked up his Master Sword. So it's a little tricky if you're not paying attention to the text that pops up. The sword shows up as red, but it's actually the Master Sword, so...
And thinking about it, I mean, it's kind of amazing that this combo randomizer even works whatsoever. So, I mean,
yeah,
I think I'll take
absolutely.
that.
So both Elm and Jez getting the full Kraid fight. No quick kills for the Canadian Kakatak crew today.
Still not going completely sideways. Thankfully, just a little bit of a DLC fight there.
Yeah. And Solski grabbing his mushroom, which he knows will lead him to the gravity suit.
Which is an amazing find. Usually that fetch quest is nowhere near as productive. Alright, well, it's back to A Link to the Past for Gesellschaft, the only one on stream right now, actually, in that game. As the rest of our runners are trying to find any one-off location they can in Super Metroid that'll progress them further in both games right now. It would seem nobody wants to go to Aghanim.
Yeah, nobody wants to go to Aghanim. Nobody wants to go to Aghanim or pull the ped, so... Maniacal doing a little work here, doing some mid-air morph to bomb jumps to get to the X-ray location. It's a pretty swaggy little movement there.
A lot more difficult than he made it look.
And X-ray is just some bombs.
Well, it costs him time and energy, but his partner will not have to do that. Solski will obviously not be anywhere near this room for the rest of the run.
Yeah. Except on his way possibly up the red tower towards Phantom to get his third sword and finish up Phantom eventually.
Yeah, and you gotta think, though, you know, later on, we'll see, or as this race, you know, proceeds, we're gonna see a lot of interesting routing choices being made with the knowledge that each other has. And that's one of the biggest challenges of doing a cooperative randomizer, particularly crossover randomizers. There's so much game knowledge and location, you know, at play here. It's kind of hard to remember what you've actually done and you know, partner properly for that.
And the back of Escape was just the small key, the map, and 10 arrows, so that was a bust.
Well, Solski would be the first one to shatter the tube leading to Meridia. Not going to go through there without that gravity suit for now, although that is possible to some extent. And Gesellschaft showed us a fake flipper to go turn in that mushroom, a very uncommonly seen one in the area just north of the dam. But all you gotta do is just do a screen transition 1 frame after entering the water. So there are a couple different locations you can do that. Good game knowledge.
And that is Canadian Kakatak crew finding their gravity suit, while Solski heads over to Kraid to find the power glove for Bootless Suitless.
Well, you may think if you're just tuning in that we are racing 2 different games at the same time. Well, you're right, but they are still playing the same randomizer seed. On the left, we have Super Metroid, and on the right, A Link to the Past. It's interesting how that worked out, but I think it might be because Gesellschaft just found the gravity suit that we were talking about before, and Elm probably wants that pretty badly.
Yeah, I would also agree with that. And Giselle heading over here with that bow, she may be thinking it's time to finish up Eastern and find out what's there.
Did we end up turning in the pendant?
I do not recall if Solski did or not. If he did, I missed it, but I don't believe it was anything super crazy, so...
Yeah, that's interesting, because if we didn't, that would be a pretty big oversight. I mean, you could easily save and quit, you know, once you've left. Oh, we're seeing a really nice, what's the name of the jump?
The gravity jump.
Yeah, from Maniacal here, by taking advantage of his toggling his gravity suit to try and get higher up here in the water.
Thank you guys for letting us know. The green pendant was just +5 arrow up capacity. You guys in chat are talking about a flute. Who got the flute? It's not on any tracker. Or was it just Maniacal flute? Is that like Main Street missiles? Can we get flute somewhere?
Yeah, it is a little difficult to follow all 4 of these racers, so if you folks see something we don't mention, by all means.
Oh, okay, so just a little bit of delay on the stream. Okay, yeah, so there it goes.
Well, the flute's very important. That's going to get us to a lot of locations, and then, of course, you know, it's also fast travel for A Link to the Past. And you absolutely have to have it to get to the Misery Mire area if you're doing so from Link to the Past. You can get there, though, from Lower Norfair. As it turns out, there is a cross-world portal not too far away from Golden Threes.
Yep, just behind it, actually, where you would normally get the screw attack, I believe.
Yes. And Gesellschaft's going to enter the other Norfair portal on Death Mountain. So there are 4 total locations. There's one on the east side of Dark World Hylia. There is one on Death Mountain, there's one in Misery Mire area, and then the 4th one is on the west side of Lake Hylia in the Light World.
All right, and Elm, heading back to Kakariko to buy some bombs, makes a stop at the Chicken Hut to find the lantern for Canadian Kakatak crew, while also turning in his good bee.
Yeah, I gotta turn in the good bee to get 20 bucks from the sick kid. Gonna steal his prescription money, that's not good. Could turn in the bee itself for 100 rupees from the bottle vendor, elects not to.
Just a heart container in the crumble tower, while Maniacal does the check there with the snail clip to find the items in the top right corner of the aqueduct room.
Yeah, it's kind of wild how much game knowledge goes into both of these runs. And then, of course, I don't think we even explained it. We talked about earlier that we need to kill both Ganon and, of course, Mother Brain to win the game. Not only that, but our teams actually have to have both of their participants finish before the other team does, which is important. You can't be just the fastest one in the race and expect to, you know, complete the entire thing and win. If your teammate, you know, doesn't progress fast enough, you may end up shooting yourself in the foot in that regard.
And Giselle here in the Mama Turtle room, she should be finding the flute for Canadian Kakatak crew shortly as well, opening up a couple different locations, including the Mire location once we get the Titan's mitts.
Yeah, the one thing that isn't so great about that is without the mirror, you know, there are quite a few things that become harder to do in that area, particularly Checkerboard Cave. And we also lose the ability to kind of combo Desert Palace with it if we don't have the book, for example. But it's still worth it. I mean, there's still the 2 items outside the shed. We get to find information.
Silver arrows at the left sand pit. What? Go get those, man!
Yeah, it's a pretty overpowered weapon. If the fighter sword does 1 damage, you could say the silver arrows do 100, and it will be ridiculously overpowered for the rest of the game. There's only so many enemies that can't even take damage from it.
Nice. Maniacal, forgetting that he had bombs for a second, uses a power bomb.
Hey, props for trying, though.
Yeah, for sure. Giselle also giving us a look here at the gravity jumps that Maniacal did earlier. Doing a very good job. I'm about to find the Varia suit here behind the morph ball location. Very nice. So we have quite a few items still that we're on the hunt for, including our Dark World access for Link to the Past, but in Super Metroid, I think the only items that we could potentially require for the completion of the game may be Charge Beam, depending on the ammo for each runner, as well as Speed Booster if there is anything at the Waterway location.
Yeah, we did see that Actually, in the last race that Canadian Cactac crew was in, their opponents actually could not finish Mother Brain because of a lack of charge beam. And that was actually available in the race as well, which is even worse. But something like that could easily thwart somebody's day, so they're definitely going to try to find these items, that's for sure. It's also been mentioned in chat that we don't have a Moon Pearl yet, so that lack of Moon Pearl makes Dark World pretty difficult, being that you can't really do anything unless you exploit some glitches to basically have Link act as if he's Link instead of the bunny. That being said, though, we are definitely on the hunt for that item. I'm kind of curious as to what we can do in the Link to the Past right now. We have the bow, of course, for Eastern. We already know what's in Eastern. We could potentially go to Zora through a portal, whirlpool, and spend 500 rupees there. We do have the glove.
Yeah, so with the glove, Zora is in logic. It's just a matter of having that 500 rupees, and it looks like that's exactly what Solski's planning on doing. And Aga 1, of course.
Yeah, I think it's time for it. A lot of runners will delay trying to do Zora at this point, because if you don't have the Moon Pearl, you can't do a glitch called water walking. Seeing as we don't have the flippers, we can't access Waterfall Cave without water walking. And that's 2 items that we could potentially be missing out on.
Yep. Alright, Elm grabbing his mushroom. Giselle already knowing that that gives the gravity suit. They are picking up everything that they need for their suits. And Giselle, I'm assuming, will likely head towards getting that Varia after she finishes up here in Meridia. And Solski did not go to Zora after picking up his gravity suit.
Which is understandable without having the Moon Pearl, but I still think it could be information that his partner might need, so that could come back to bite them later. Then again, if it's nothing, maybe they just made a great play.
He may be heading down here to Fake Flipper again and head up through the other portal. Because I know he's already checked Ice Rod Cave, and he doesn't have the Titan's Mitt, so he can't head into Ice.
Yeah,
maybe
that makes a
he
lot of sense with
forgot.
Ooh, and pulls off the unbuffered Link on the other side. That's very nice.
Maniacal here at Bubble Mountain, giving us a look at an E-tank in the bottom right corner. Giselle seeing those silver arrows saying, yep. I want.
Yeah, I would say that both, well, pretty much everybody in this race could definitely do Ganon without silvers, but there's just so much time save if you find them early, and they're so overpowered.
The Moon Pearl!
Oh, was that Maniacal?
Yeah, he got his Tempered Sword as well as his Moon Pearl. They're in the Upper Norfair Reserve location.
Alright, so if you're a fan of Game Boy Advance ports, the 4 swords are all available now.
Indeed. Maniacal will be getting his Butter Sword once he... well, if he decides to go back and finish Eastern. With the Tempered Sword, everything in Link to the Past is pretty much easy peasy.
Yeah, it's kind of the sword upgrade that, if you're doing, say, the NMG speedrun, you're most familiar with killing bosses with. A couple of Dark World, fights you gotta do without it, but it's definitely where most runners have practiced their Ganon. And if you have silvers, it's even easier, so I would pretty much expect fast Ganon kills from pretty much everybody in this race.
I missed what was at Zora. Did you see what he got?
I don't believe he actually went to Zora. He checked the ledge, and I think he actually noped out of there.
Shalashalska in our tracking team there says that Zora was a super pack and then save and quit.
Oh, okay. He just got there really quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that didn't seem like enough time. I mean, we do find the Moon Pearl, so I mean, that's kind of a little more significant. I would be in his shoes. I would definitely be saving and quitting as soon as possible out of the Zora area.
And then Solski making the play over to Wreck Ship. We already know that there's not a lot, just that good bee at the gravity suit location that will send them on a little bit of a fetch quest for Big 20.
And of course, we definitely do need to, or that'll be the first time that they find a bottle. So that's valuable information for them.
Yep. And of course, killing Phantom on the tracker as well for their Torian access.
Yeah, it's good to kind of knock that out of the way if you know that your partner didn't really find anything in the area. So Solski's kind of trailblazing for Maniacal here. And being that Maniacal does have the flute, has a pretty good chance of getting a hefty, well, flute and moon pearl, a chance of having a pretty hefty progression advantage over everyone else in this race. So he may be able to check certain locations, say later on in A Link to the Past, well before anyone else, hopefully making his partner Solski also speed up through the race. So this is kind of where that cooperative element comes in. And if their routing and communication is good, that would be a great way for them to try and take this victory today.
And just as a reminder for everybody watching, this is a elimination match. Bootless, Suitless, and Canadian Keck Attack crew have to win in order to progress through the losers bracket.
But of course, they're all winners in our hearts, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know what you would call yourself if you're doing this combo randomizer and trying to be competitive at it. I struggle to even finish one of these.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, everybody's favorite for, well, 8-eyed dinosaur.
You know, I heard he's a member of the regressive party. He wants to take a step back.
Yeah, I heard he takes quite a few, actually.
Well, hopefully he can, you know, lend us an arm, a leg, or, you know, keep his many eyes out for us here going forward. He may have a bone to pick with us at the end of this fight, though.
Yeah, I would think so. Quite a few of them.
Ouch, looks like he got burned on that one. And so did Maniacal, only finding supers. Of course, supers are not bad to find in any situation. It's just, you know, if you're looking for progression, not exactly as warm of a welcome finding those. That was a pretty good kill, though.
Elm is going for a lava dive here, heading into lower north there. He's going to do the wall jumps.
Wow, that looked easy.
Whoa, first try, man. Solski finishes up Fan 2, while Maniacal finishes up the Crockermeyer Phase 2.
I just gotta say it, I mean, like, nobody else was holding their breath during that, were they?
I was. I was like watching his health, watching the stupid guys on the side that spit fireballs. That was really well done.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever be at a point where I can do something like that. But the gravity jump's also very good to do in that situation, and we may see a lot of our runners do that. Probably not as difficult to pull off as, you know, insane underwater or under lava, you know, wall jumps, but, you know, plenty of ways to get through a lot of these rooms.
Right, I agree. I can do the gravity jump inside of the lava, but I cannot do that wall jump that Elm did. And Maniacal going to the left here to do a green gate glitch, as he does not have the speed booster to go through that wall on his way to the grapple beam location.
Yep, it's pretty precise, but you can get Samus's sprite to intersect with that gate just enough so that you can hit it from the other side of it. Certainly not intended by the game, but we'll take advantage of that. I forgot to... Ooh. Okay, oh, that was very sweet. We already had that.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, because I wasn't sure, does Logic ever expect you to hit a gate from the wrong side?
I believe only in the hard tournament Logic that it requires green gate glitches. So if there's a progression item back here, it would be behind speed booster.
That makes sense. Yeah, and if you'd like to try the combo randomizer, of course you do have to have copies of both games. Kind of goes without saying. You do patch it on a website. I encourage all of you to join the crossover randomizer Discord to try and learn a little bit more about this and to try the various different difficulties. We are playing on, was this the normal one?
Yeah, this is just normal logic.
Yeah, so if you feel like you're a titan of both of these games, you can try the even more difficult versions. And I'm sure Elm's probably, maybe Maniacal as well, definitely likely to have done that. But
yeah.
For this turn, trying to keep it a little bit more viewer-friendly.
Every Sunday and Monday, Sunday 3 p.m. Eastern and Monday 9 p.m. Eastern, there is a Super Metroid Link to the Past randomizer weekly race. Each week it alternates Monday and Sunday between hard and normal logic. So if you guys care to watch any of those, you're welcome to tune in. You can check the schedule, I believe, just through speedgaming.org/SMZ3. And that is where you can check to see if it's hard logic for the day or normal logic if you want to watch those weekly races.
Yeah, no better way to, potentially get ready for a next tournament, as there are, solo tournaments as well as 2v2 tournaments, as this has been growing in interest. No better way than to, dive in and try a few seeds. Definitely a great way to kind of get a feel for how the combination randomizer works. It certainly weights things differently than the individual randomizers for each game. Well, definitely one of the unusual situations where we've seen very little Zelda and a whole lot of Metroid early in the game. I'm wondering if we're going to see Mother Brain today before we even, have most of our crystals.
I would honestly say that I expect that not to happen with the most of our runners. I know that Maniacal and Elm prefer to do all of Link to the Past, including Ganon, before they go in to fight Mother Brain. So if anything, we'll probably just see the 4 main bosses of Super Metroid done before they finish up Link to the Past. I'm expecting that this is likely an Aghanim seed, because there's no other way to get to the Dark World right now. We still need Hammer or a second glove upgrade.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we have found the Moon Pearl, and we do have 1 glove. We don't have access to any portals available to us just yet until those upgrades, like you just mentioned. And then, of course, most of the Link to the Past progression will be in the Dark World. It appears at this point, at least it looks that way.
There could be a few things remaining here in the lower Norfair area that Maniacal and Elminster are checking, but pretty much everything else we have gone through, besides the Botroon back of Meridia area and everything around and behind Dragon, such as the plasma locations.
So there are a few different ways that we could get to the Dark World, though. Mirror could put us in logic for the rest of Death Mountain. Hookshot could also get us to the other side of Death Mountain, which would get us the Mirror, for example, or Titan's Mids. Elminster over here, by the way, doing a very low percent Ridley kill here. No problems.
Oh, finishes it up. He has actually participated in the past 2 reverse boss order randomizer races, I think yesterday or one earlier today. That just pretty much means you go backwards in order. Start with Ridley, go to Dragon, go to Phantom, go to Kraid in the boss order.
That's absolutely mental, by the way.
Yeah, so you're pretty much doing Ridley with 3 energy tanks and charge beam, and that's like pretty much it.
If you like watching crazy speedruns, RBO or reverse boss order for both Super Metroid and A Link to the Past are both really awesome runs to watch. Yeah, so the big bird down, I think, just like you mentioned.
All right.
Kill, Dragon, and then, start focusing on The Link to the Past, like you mentioned.
Yep, 5/6 crystal there at Meyer that Maniacal has got us to after checking behind the gold chorizo. Green pendant at Eastern that we know, but the remaining pendants are at Skullwoods and Ice Palace. So we're going to need Somaria, we're going to need Fire Rod, Ice Rod, pretty much everything on the board. I didn't see what that Meyer medallion was either.
I didn't catch it either, but definitely a lot of items that would be a thorn in our side at this point.
Bombos.
Well, Bombos is interesting for a couple of reasons. Bombos may actually be the way that we access Ice Palace and complete Ice Palace, depending on the key logic in there. And to need it for Misery Mire, we may end up finding that a little bit sooner.
If we haven't found Fire Rod, which could be in Ice Palace, that Bombos medallion may be what we need to get through and finish up Ice Palace. What about Fire Rod on Cold Stare? Yikers.
You know, it's a possibility, and this is one of those scenarios that could call for it. Would not wish that on my worst enemy, but can happen.
Yeah, so even though we did get access to the Dark World through that lower Norfair portal, you can't really get anywhere else in the Dark World from that Mire location. You can access Desert Palace, so that is open. Could be boots locked, but we also have Checkerboard Cave and Agnes Cave, which we've already seen. Okay, Fire Rod is not at Cold Stare.
Wait, did we just find Fire Rod?
Yeah, it was above GT. It was right there.
Well, Fire Rod's awesome. Gives us kind of the ranged equivalent of our Tempered Sword. Definitely a very powerful weapon. And it has a lot of bonus damage to certain specific enemies as well. Cold Stare, a good example. It does basically the same as, you know, the Golden Sword. So having that, and I believe half magic was in the world. I think somebody mentioned near Crocomire.
Yeah, it was at the power bombs behind Crocomire.
Yeah, so that half magic will mean we can use that Fire Rod with impunity. Unfortunately, until we find the Titan's Myth, there's really no way for us to get into Ice Palace if we're looking to try and follow our leads that we've discovered this far. It's a little strange seeing all these heated rooms and nobody in this randomizer having to do them variatless.
Yeah. Well, the normal logic will never require that you do a hell run or a run through a heated room without various suit. You can do it as a sequence break, but it's never required. In the hard mode logic, though, it can be.
Yeah, I got kind of used to seeing that. So it looks like we're going to be covering a couple of the random one-off locations. Seems like everybody's desperate to avoid Akanim, but Elminster... Oh, I thought he was going to head there, actually. I don't know where he's going. I mean, we did get a Zora check once in this race. I don't think anybody in Team Canadian Kakatak crew has done it yet.
Looks like he's planning on going to turn in his mushroom to grab gravity and possibly check Zora, because I know that Canadian Kakatak crew has not done that yet. With his Moon Pearl, he is able to set up a water walk and go through that to Waterfall Cave.
Yeah, that'd be the first look at that cave, the 2 items in there. And hey, maybe, you know, Elminster after that may consider Meridia. I mean, he doesn't have a lot to kill Dragon with, but certainly capable of it.
Giselle going for the green gate glitch, similar to Maniacal.
At this point, I'm kind of wondering, you know, are our runners waiting for the 1 hour mark to finally commit to Aghanim? It's not that often that you see that decision being made so late in the race.
Yeah, I would probably put it off quite a long time myself.
Yeah, everybody wants to avoid it as much as possible, but I'm pretty used to seeing somebody bite the bullet. Being that you do have 2 people on your team, you can kind of afford to spend the time. It's just, if you're 5 minutes behind your opponent, or your teammate, for something that's not required. By the way, Elminster sending that Zora to the moon, all the way to that ledge. Very nice shove there. But yeah, it can be pretty valuable to find out whether or not that's required. I get the feeling something important is in Palace of Darkness. And hey, it'd be really nice if we found something like boots or flippers, because we could do a water walk in the dark world to completely avoid Aghanim. Some pretty expensive supers for Elminster here, and he is out of there.
Solski grabbing his flute here from the Mama Turtle room.
Yeah, it's very important to get the duck unstuck so that you can get around a lot faster in A Link to the Past. It's not that bad to get around in Super Metroid. You got a lot of speed tech to work with. By the time that you're really getting through Super Metroid, you probably have a few of these upgrades. And of course, you know, that's where game knowledge is kind of most important. But A Link to the Past, Link is not that quick without his boots. And a lot of seeds, you don't see him for a really long time. One nice thing about A Link to the Past, though, is when you save and quit, you do have access to a couple of different locations you can spawn in on. And if you have saved the Old Man on the Mountain, you do get the Death Mountain save and quit points. So that is one thing kind of working for the A Link to the Past side.
Yeah, for sure. And again, if you have flute that you picked up from Mama Turtle, you can also just flute directly to Portal 1. And you're pretty much right where you want to be anyways.
I don't believe we've seen anybody kill Golden Chorizo. Kind of a little bit under ammoed for that, it would seem.
Maniacal did it. That's where he got his fire rod.
Oh yeah, you did mention that. So that does give him a... well, we already have lamp, so we didn't really need that for a fire source. However, yeah, I guess until we get the Titan's Mitts, that's not going to be super relevant.
Or the hammer.
Oh yeah, that's true. We would also need that for full completion of ice anyway.
Yep.
Ooh, Solski entering the castle tower, looking to be our first to head to Aghanim today. Serving up Din Din by banging on the door with a tempered sword to get them to come together and doing a quick sword spin. Looks like Solski's been practicing his castle tower recently.
Yep, working on that dinner bell.
Not quite the Pui strats we're used to, but without... well, he did have sword beams. He could actually pull that off, but there's no need to. We don't have to manipulate, you know, prize packs or anything. You know, this is just going to be get to Aghanim as quickly as you can. We're not worried about a fairy in Turtle Rock or anything. Also being pointed out by chat, we only have 4 hearts to work with for Solski right now. While that's not really the biggest deal, it's still kind of scary. It would seem both Maniacal and Elminster have a thing against Ridley today. Both of them taking care of him very early on in the race.
Very well done. I always like that getting grabbed midair while you're standing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you don't even gotta jump as far for the ammo and the stuff that, you know, spawns after he dies. You know, it's very convenient. And it looks sweet. Kind of like a short hop. Well, it looks like the duck is unstuck for Gesellschaft. I'm gonna get the lamp as well from the back of the chicken shack here. Depressing lack of chicken clips today. Folks, I don't know what is going on here, but we're gonna need to see a little bit more of the unnecessary tech.
Yeah, I don't think we'll be seeing that today, as everybody's gotten their lantern. So.
Well, hopefully they can, well, maybe Gesellschaft can make up for it later with a cactus dash or something. I don't know, but...
Or a bird toss.
Yeah, bird toss.
Oh, wait.
Oh,
Bombos. Nah.
Hey, I mean, maybe they do have ether. Maybe they can choose to do it on accident, or pretend to do it on accident.
Giselle also? Or is she thinking she needs to go back and finish Escape?
is heading towards... Yes. Which is unfortunate because I'm pretty certain that, yeah, we mentioned before that Key is blocking us, and that's going to be the back half of Escape. I don't know, did you see her jump back in?
Yeah, she did check the back of Escape already. So depending on, I mean, here she'll find that she's still got that one item at Zelda's chest, and then the one at Dark Cross.
Well, that's fortunate then. We should probably save and quit after we pick up that item, and then, of course, Elminster here also getting the item in question we just mentioned.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen A Link to the Past to see the Aghanim fight, Solski is doing a fight that has the same RNG for all of our racers. Typically, though, it'd be a 50-50 chance from Aghanim to give you a reflectable attack or a blue ball attack. Nobody likes blue balls. But that's going to be attacks 2 through 4. Attack 1 always being reflectable, attack 5 always being lightning in that cycle. Making short work of him, though. Solski spending not even 5 minutes in the castle tower. Very quick time to ascend the pyramid, or to the top of the pyramid.
Let's see what's on the ledge today. Supas.
Well, nobody's going to turn those down, though. Looks like a combination of death warps for both of Canadian Cack Attack crew. Neither of them liking the castle right now.
Yeah, and Elm having already checked the Dark Cross room, and Giselle already having checked Zelda's chest. Looks like they are both heading to Aga.
Yeah, it speaks a little bit to how they've coordinated their decision making. I mean, they both ended up at this point together, having pretty much exhausted everything they could look for. At least that was within, reason to go check.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they'll be entering Dark World around the same time. I gotta think that they'll split up as we see Solski here going to the Catfish check. That's a very time-intensive thing to do. And it makes sense for Solski to do this, being as he's the trailblazer of their team in A Link to the Past.
Yep.
And I gotta think they're gonna split up, too.
Yeah, we'll probably see one of them head towards Pod and the other up to Catfish.
I am curious, we're not going to have to deal with a bow-locked Palace of Darkness, but a hammer-locked Palace of Darkness is very likely. I'm wondering what we can even do if we don't find the hammer there.
Pretty much everything except Helmasaur. Even the right side, bow side, you can just run over, grab those 2 chests, and then Death Warp back to the beginning and pretty much clear everything up until Helmasaur.
Yeah, we're certainly not finding, hammer on Catfish, which is just $20 today. So it's pretty important that we find some kind of progression here in Palace of Darkness coming up, as we are running out of places in A Link to the Past to find it.
Yeah, it would likely have to be either Titan's Mitts or Hammer, just because that's the only other... Well, Flippers, I suppose.
And a mirror would be pretty good.
Yeah.
Although, truthfully, I think Hammer's probably the big one. I mean, it does give us access to Hype Cave. We have everything we need to access a couple portals from that.
Yep.
Titan's Mitts, and Hammer are pretty much the biggest things right now.
Eastern Death Mountain with the Hammer as well.
Yeah, Chad also mentioning Hookshot. That would give us quite a few items on the east side. I believe it's 8 total or 7 total.
Yeah,
8 total. And that would be a really easy way for us to find a bunch of items. But of course, how it often works when you're bottlenecked and you end up at East Death Mountain later on in the race, you often find a lot of junk in that cave too.
We could get Hookshot to East Death Mountain, to Titan's Mitts, to something in Hookshot Cave.
That sounds a little bit mean.
Not as mean as an Agaseed. I didn't roll this today, guys. It wasn't me.
Well, it looks like Gesellschaft caught up a little bit of time on her partner Elminster in the castle tower, which I'm hoping that they're making jokes about in their voice channel. But we'll get to see in a little bit if they do end up making that split. Solski checks the first chest, which was a small key in Palace of Darkness, so even if we didn't have the bow, it would not be locked. There is one other opportunity, though. If nobody picked up their bow walking into this dungeon, you could do a glitch with a potion where you manipulate the camera and play around with a room that expects you to kill all the enemies with the bow. There is a way past it, but we won't have to see that today.
Alright, so Giselle, I think, has... Or, I'm sorry, Elm has, I think, 2 more hits.
Yeah, there's really nothing you can do to speed up this fight, except you can knock Aghanim towards the center of the room, which, on average, should make the time he spends warping less. But that's really all you can do to influence this fight. Pretty much, you know, set standard when you're doing randomizer. Probably the boss fight of Evil's Bane in NMG, though, because it is very random.
Alright, nothing on the right side of Pod, just some small keys. And Solski getting ready to take a death warp, I believe, from the spikes in this room here.
Yeah, it's very fortunate to only have 4 hearts in this section. So much easier to do that death warp. And as we mentioned before, that will take him back to the entrance of the dungeon, meaning he doesn't have a very long walk to get back to where he was starting, and we'll be able to check the rest of this dungeon post-haste. Has 2 keys to work with, too, so not going to be blocked by any doors anytime soon. If you are a student of A Link to the Past and really try to figure out everything you can infer some locations in this dungeon based on key logic, which I believe Solski may be the sort of person to be able to do that and kind of figure it out. He is going to check the vanilla big key location.
And Giselle did not head towards Catfish. She went back to Super Metroid.
We are finding several Super Metroid items here. Was that Charge Beam and Space Jump?
Yes, I do believe that was what that was.
Or not Charge Beam. I'm really bad at the icons for Super Metroid. It's the one to the left of Space Jump in the tracker.
Oh, Spring Ball?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. I didn't see the beam pickup, but yeah.
So the Spring Ball, kinda handy, not critically important. We did have bombs anyway. But, you know, good movement. Spring Ball will definitely make us faster through a lot of rooms in Super Metroid, rather than waiting on the timer for the bomb to explode.
Yeah. Flippers!
Wow, Palace of Darkness paying out big.
And there's that big key. So we have 2 more keys to find here in Palace of Darkness.
So I'm pretty interested to see that Canadian Cacti crew did not actually do a divergence to go to Catfish. It looks like Gesellschaft went back into Super Metroid, going to refill a bit on the way to a boss kill, it looks like.
Yeah, I think she's probably heading towards Ridley.
This was a fight that almost gave her some trouble in the last race. Managed to pull it off, but definitely explains the full restock on supers. I would not be doing anything differently personally, but some people make Ridley look like it's like just a walk in the park you can do it in your sleep.
All right. I believe the map is on Helmosaur.
Yeah, and Solski made very fast work of the entire dungeon. Elminster not that far behind him, actually, having gained quite a bit of ground, and expending his last arrows, making sure that he can get to the back half here. Did have a couple of pots he could have picked up from, but hasn't bothered to stop to do so. To answer the question in chat from Old Man Sunshine, the flippers help you in the Dark World because if you can access the Aghanim portal, you can go to the west side of the Dark World from the bridge. Or I got that backwards. West-east. Also, you made a sound. Did I miss something?
Giselle was just doing her gravity jump through the lava here and just about made it with a down grab, but she probably should have wall jumped from there. But she'll get it though. There we go. Just like that. Perfect.
First try. We did see Solski take advantage of some game knowledge in the Waterfall of Wishing, taking advantage of having an empty bottle and throwing it in, getting some red goo, so that could help him out later on as a safety measure, seeing as he still only has 4 hearts. The contents of that bottle, when you throw it in, will be randomized, so you may or may not get a potion you care about.
You may just get another bee back when you set a bee free.
Everything's bees. Everything. Solski is heading back towards the pod area, but gonna head towards the lake instead. Doesn't have a mirror to work with, so it looks like to be heading towards Super Metroid.
Yeah, I believe he's heading towards the dark ice rod cave for the Meridia access towards Dragon.
So, if I'm not mistaken, is this... Well, we may need Speed Booster, right?
You need Speed Booster or Ice to clip with the Metroids, but he could just be checking like the Batoon item and the missile pack before Dragon. Just a couple easy checks.
Ooh, we saw a really nice bit of speed tech from Elminster there, what we like to call the Hammer Yump. Was able to clip into a wall, or into a railing, with a bomb jump across a gap, and we'll also get to see Golden Teresa from Gesellschaft in position for the easy kill. Nice.
She had plenty of supers that she farmed up from the Rippers, the Red Rippers before, so she'll be grabbing her Fire Rod here.
Yeah, it looks like Solski's going to farm up a bit as well, making sure to stay topped off to try and get as many things done in one go as possible, because it was a little annoying to get all the way to this entrance of Super Metroid. Had to basically do a long walk in the Dark World, which is not really fun for anybody.
Yeah. So Solski is able to finish off Dragon here. We'll probably have to use just ammo to finish her off since we don't have the grapple beam or speed booster to do speed boost strats.
Yeah, it's a crying shame because there's so many fast ways to kill Dragon.
Oh, another bee in another bottle. Another good bee in another bottle.
B-Torp confirmed. Another bottle, of course, giving us more safety to work with.
Yes, for sure.
And there are even a couple of bosses where you can benefit from throwing out the good bee. If we end up in Thieves Town at all, which we will because, you know, it's one of the crystals, we could actually use that to do some damage to Blind.
Yeah, once we get to the village of Outcasts.
Yeah, that still is a little bit out of reach. Well, here's Dragon for Solski, pumping a lot of supers into him. Pretty good first round there.
Yeah, using the power bombs to blow up the little goose spit balls that Dragon throws at you is definitely a great way to do that.
Well, there's Dragon. So all of the primary Metroid bosses have been killed on stream, not all by one person.
Oh, that is so ridiculous. Why would you put Hammer behind Dragon?
What?
That's so mean.
Stop. Dragon time. Well, that's a pretty hefty advantage.
Let's go get Flipper so that we can go to Meridia to kill Dragon. To double their pod once we get Hammer. What?
The good news for Canadian Cacti Crew is that Elminster has been on a bend for killing these Super Metroid bosses, so I mean, that might be something he considered doing, but
Oh yeah,
I don't
he's
think
heading
that's
that
something
way right
anybody's
now.
going to be thinking about.
Giselle is heading into pod to grab her space jump and spring ball as well. And then probably just heading to grab the big key, and then we'll save and quit out as soon as Elm finds that hammer behind Dragon.
Things you woke up today and didn't expect to say, +1.
Yeah.
Also, the story of this seed seems to be who's going to be the first team to get both of their members over to that hammer, because that's going to dictate a lot of what we're doing in A Link to the Past at this point going forward. It will give us access to pretty much the rest of the Dark World.
Maniacal only has 34 missiles and 5 regular or super missiles. That's not a whole lot to work with.
Yeah, it's kind of tough to be really accurate against any of these bosses in Super Metroid. It's one of those reasons that we pick up so much ammo when we do find it throughout the rest of the game. Looks like Solski picked up a book in Hype Cave. I didn't catch the rest of that.
Small shield or the second shield at the beginning, and then the book at the back with missiles, and power bombs.
Yeah, that book potentially valuable for a couple of things. We did mention before that we do have the tablets. Without the mirror, we can't access bombos. However, we can still get the one at the top of the mountain. Well, we'll need mirror actually for that. So yeah, we're mirror locked for both of those, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, without hookshot, you're right.
But we can check the pedestal to see what's up there, and that could still be a thing.
Was Aga pedestal the hammer behind Dragon?
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Boots required. No!
Yeah, we haven't lived up to the name Bootsless Suitless completely just yet, but Bootsless still a possibility.
Yeah. E-Tank at the digging game.
Which, I mean, for the money and the time spent, there are worse things to get, but, you know, not the greatest find.
Elm grabbing that hammer. And Jez doing the check over here to grab the big key.
Nigel's got to be a little bit careful here. That shrimp's moving pretty quick.
There we go.
Yeah, shout out to Shalska, that is a hard name to say, apologies for that, for pointing out that, yeah, I think Solski would prefer a heart at this point. Still down to 4 hearts for his total life counter. That's a brutal place to be in A Link to the Past. And I would not expect to see him go after Helmosaur King with 4 hearts.
Alright, Elm is heading over to the Botcharoon item check. And then dropping down, and I believe he'll check Plasma quickly. Solski taking that book up to Desert. We'll see if that's going to be boots locked.
Yeah, what Miss Metroid is referring to is a torch item that would typically be a small key in the vanilla game. You would need the boots to knock it off of there. I found out recently, I don't think this works with, say, torches, but with trees, you can actually knock items off of them with Quake. We saw that in a different race, which is a bit of game knowledge. You know, if you watch Link to the Past, you know, regularly, you'll learn something every time you do. So I guess the same is probably true with Super Metroid as well, but you're going to see in this tournament lots of different things that you would never have expected to see in both of these games. We do find a big key in that first chest, though. That's a good sign.
Yeah, but if the small key's here... Oh, yeah, it's not. Okay. So, Desert Palace, at least, is not boots locked, so we are not going to require having to have the boots to get that item on that torch. Potentially still may be required for something inside of King's Tomb, the Bonk Rocks next to the Sanctuary, or the Ganon's Tower Big Key.
And that would be one of the worst possible trolls to find out that you need the boots at Ganon's Tower. And that's usually the worst thing for, say, just the solo Link to the Past randomizer, but it's still pretty relevant here, seeing as you really only use them in A Link to the Past, and that's still about as late as you can find out.
Yep.
I mean, we've seen it a couple times in several of those tournaments for A Link to the Past. I would not be surprised to see it today.
Alright, so as chat's pointing out, Ice Beam was found at the Plasma Beam location. I almost expected Elm to have gone to check that after getting his silvers, but he's just heading into Lower Norfair, or just to Upper Norfair, sorry. So he's heading back into Link to the Past as well.
Also, we did pick up a Super Metroid item in the east side of, or the right side of Desert Palace. That was Plasma?
I believe so.
All I know, because I'm terrible at the icons when they're in Zelda, it looks kind of like a Bowser sprite.
And it had a green P next to it.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Yeah, so we're finding a couple different beams in different locations at the same time. Finding Ice Beam and Plasma Beam really opens up our boss kill menu. Finding X-Ray or Grapple Beam would be nice as well for those reasons, but those are kind of cherries on the top. With the ammo and weaponry we have, we're pretty well equipped for most bosses. I think the only thing that would make this seed better is for boots to be a track tool and for Ganon's Tower to require them.
Oh, that would be so mean. Solski with the first try ice clip to Shack Tour. That was really impressive.
Yeah, Maniacal made that look pretty simple, but it is a long wait for these dirt blocks to be destroyed by a Shack Tool, and it's a big time investment. Something that most runners, whether it's just the Metroid randomizer or the crossover, pretty much everybody's avoiding this check. Could pay off though. In the meantime, Solski tearing up Lamola's.
Yep, and Giselle on her way over to Dragon to grab her hammer as well. And Elm being the first one over to the Village of Outcast area. I know that Solski did a couple checks, but we may see him dip into Thieves Town and a couple things.
Well, looks like Maniacal was rewarded with a Quake medallion at Shack Tool. Which we do not have confirmation as being required. Vanilla game would require that for Turtle Rock, but that's the only thing that it can be required for. So
yeah,
may or may not be a big red herring. We'll find out when we do make it up to Dark Death Mountain. To answer Goodies are in chat, no, we don't know where any of these items are until we've explored and found them ourselves. So, you know, both teams here are gonna share that information with each other. As soon as one finds the item, they'll let their partner know. So, we may actually see that Quake medallion get put off for Solski for quite a while if, you know, nobody ends up checking Turtle Rock anytime soon.
Ped check, ped check.
Oh, so in the vanilla game, this is where we would find the Master Sword after getting all 3 pendants, and we would need all 3 pendants to actually get this item. But we do have the book. We can read the text in the front to see what it is, and today it will be...
Use this item to become invincible. That is Cane of Burna?
Cane of Brian. So Cane of Brian,
wow.
Useful invulnerability item, very laggy. We will not require it today by any means. Particularly not with the cape that we already have. Solski seems to be in disbelief here. I do believe he went to check that twice.
He probably may not have known what the item is just by the text, and then forgot it and had to go back and tell Maniacal what it said again.
Wait, what is it? What is it, Maniacal?
What did it say? What does that mean?
Is this required?
Yeah.
Perfectly reasonable reaction.
Yeah, Cape was in the right chest of the Myers shack. So both Giselle and Maniacal have picked that up.
And worth pointing out, because chat did mention it, Solski does not have that cape, so could also be looking to see, hey, Maniacal, do you have, the cape? Would this ever be required? So they're definitely reducing to the ridiculous all the possible places. Maniacal there, forgetting that he didn't have a Titan's Mitt. It's going to have to walk all the way around, kind of forgetting that the portal requires either that or the glove and hammer.
Giselle finished up Dragon, grabbing her hammer and heading back out. Elm dipping into Thieves Town. Honestly, watching Giselle and the ped check, I did not see what items were in the first 4 chests.
Yeah, Thieves Town, though, being required, and we do have everything we need to full clear this dungeon. Elm is absolutely going to take care of that now. This is a place where you can often find progression and regret that you didn't, complete it when you could. A lot of people will avoid it if they don't have the hammer. Thankfully, that's not going to be a problem for us today, as there is one chest in the basement that requires it.
And Maniacal also giving us a peek at something new here by checking out Skull Woods. There are 2 items. It can be a fairly quick check to find both items in the front half of Skull Woods, but he does have the fire rod. So if he has to check the back 2 items or finish off Mothula to get that second item, we'll be able to see that.
We are seeing a little bit of discussion in chat about randomizing other games. One reason that this randomizer works as well as it does is because the saving, or I guess the RAM system for both games, called SRAM, is actually different for each of these 2 games, and they don't interfere with each other. You could potentially randomize other games, or even cross over other games. They just need to not be incompatible with each other on that level. And of course, there's a lot of things going on in the background. If you have experience doing ROM hacks, or you want to get involved in this sort of stuff, highly encourage you to join these Discord communities, because I'm pretty sure everybody wants to see that F-Zero Link to the Past, Super Metroid randomizer where all the boss fights are races, right?
Yeah. And Zelda 1 and Metroid 1 are also currently in the works to be a combo randomizer as well.
I'd play that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if you're interested in helping develop all this stuff, I'm sure everybody would appreciate extra sets of eyes, hands, and ears.
Testers for sure.
Alright, well, we're seeing the last bits of, Thieves Town and Skull Woods from both of our teams here. Elminster's probably going to show us a pretty standard blind fight, being that this is something you practice enough times. We do get a nice pun as well. Elminster probably appreciates that. But Maniacal is going to go to the back of Skull Woods, seeing as there's only 2 items in the entire dungeon. We'll probably... Oh, he's going to go for the downstairs item, which is actually a bit of a time sink.
Yeah. We did see the shovel as one of the other items, so if he finds the item here, that traversal all the way to Bombo Sunblind. Wow, okay. Mothula not required.
It's been mentioned that Thieves Town does have Titan's Mitts.
That's amazing. Were they in the maiden cell, I'm guessing?
It looks like it, because I didn't see anybody say vanilla mitts, just French vanilla. So the French maiden, actually, today, having the mitts. And very close to where you would find them normally. Yeah.
And again, finding that speed booster there in that chest under the bridge at Skull Woods for Maniacal. Now he knows for sure that Mothula is not going to be required. Mothula probably has the map or compass, and the big key is likely locked within the big chest in there.
Yeah, so that's one reason you'll see a lot of runners choose whether or not they want to even bother with Mothula is, that pendant or crystal. And we already know because of, Solski checking it that we do not need to get the pedestal today. So a great example of where, communication can really pay off in this cooperative randomizer. Well, shovel item today is a bust, just a little bit of love. Solski may end up still getting that, though. I mean, still really low in health.
Yep. All right, Giselle heading into Thieves Town, gonna grab her Titan's Mitts.
And hopefully show us another good blind fight. We haven't seen anybody drop the ball in the blind fight, but definitely an easy one to have go wrong. Elminster here is going to do the Smith chain now that we have pretty much everything but the mirror. All you got to do is save and quit, and the Smith does persist with you out of the dark world into the light world. So great way to kind of work around that. We don't have a mushroom anymore, so we can't do a magic bat cave check, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that is generally pretty tricky to do with something like the fire rod. Unless you have Cane of Samaria, the window in which you use the cane menu and then switch to the mushroom is very, very tight. So not having either the fire rod or the Cane of Samaria for Elm, even if he did have that mushroom, I wouldn't expect that he would have gone through with that.
Yeah, that's a good point. The way that you access the magic powder glitch is you have to get the sound to play, the one that plays when you don't have any magic, the dun-dun sound, and that's always a fun one to sound out. But then once you've done that, you need to switch to the mushroom in the inventory in a very small window. Cane of Samaria is the most forgiving, and that will, for whatever reason, trick the game into thinking you just use powder.
Alright, Elm grabbing his magic cape. And Maniacal, I believe, heading back towards Big Pink to check out the waterway item. We already know that the speed booster item at Wreck Ship and in the old escape shaft are not required items. So this could be some pretty big information here for Bootless Suitless.
And Solski almost dying to blind as well, trying to show us some really swagtastic hammer strats, but that may have almost cost him there. Very glad to see that he emerged from that unscathed with just art.
Charge beam! Waterway blocked by speed booster with charge beam. Wow.
And charge beam is, really important for the end game as we, have to really watch our ammo counts carefully walking into the Mother Brain fight. So finding that charge beam is a big breath of relief.
Okay, so speed booster is not required to beat the game, but it definitely, as you said, having that charge beam puts a little bit of sense of relief through the runners so that they don't have to worry about picking up extra missiles, super missiles, to go through and beat Mother Brain, especially having found that plasma for Maniacal as well. That's huge. Well, I mean, plasma was Solski, right?
Yes. I'm getting mixed up now.
But I believe that it's Bootless Suitless that knows where the plasma beam is, so.
Oh, and it looks like we may have missed or maybe you mentioned it, mirror at Hammer Pegs?
Oh, did Solski just check that? I didn't see that.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
That would have just happened. So that mirror also incredible knowledge, as that does give a lot of locations in, the Dark World and Light World, the combination between the two. So this is going to help with routing as well, because there are a few locations that we haven't checked that are now going to be much easier to get to.
I was stuck watching Elm struggle to pick up a couple extra supers to finish Gold Teresa that I missed the hammer pegs.
Yeah, there is a lot going on at once in a 2v2 co-op randomizer, but we do appreciate that everybody else is keeping their eyes peeled, as all four of these runners are really exciting to watch. And of course, as mentioned earlier, definitely encourage you all to follow them. You're definitely going to see great content from these folks. Well, the mirror has not paid off yet. Reserve tank in cave, well, what we'd like to call cave 45, not really labeled like that in code, just based off of a fan-made map. But there are still locations like Graveyard Ledge. We could still end up, well, we can't check King's Tomb yet.
Checkerboard.
Yep, Checkerboard. And then, of course, the tablet, which Solski will absolutely check on his way around through here.
And Maniacal in Spike Cave while Elm dips into Ice Palace. Ooh, X-ray in the purple box.
Maybe a little late to microwave most of these Super Metroid bosses, but still, pretty good.
Yeah, it's definitely with the bosses that he has finished off. The X-ray doesn't allow the microwave, but
Maniacal may end up using that though. Although Smith didn't give as much, did it?
Well, no, but the mirror being there at Bunk Rock or at the Hammer Pegs is one reason to head back. Plus, grabbing the purple chest for Maniacal could still be a time save. Phantom can take a little while because of all of the requirements for missiles rather than supers.
That makes sense. Yeah, so I mean, if he wants to go for that X-ray kill, that'd be a great reason to do the chain. Otherwise, may potentially just skip the chain altogether. We'll get to see that, though, from Maniacal. Yeah. He is heading towards one of the portals, the Kakariko portal, right now.
So it wouldn't be too big of a thing to finish up these town. Grab your Titan's mitts, grab the frog, grab your hammer, or your mirror at Hammer Pegs, grab the purple chest from Smith's once you're done, and then just flute to the dam and run that over real quick.
We'll also get to see the other tablet check here from Solski. So here at Ether Tablet on top of Death Mountain today, it will be just some missiles. Also of note, Elminster here is in Ice Palace and seems to be at a crossroads. Not exactly sure which direction he wants to go, possibly contemplating the key logic of the dungeon right now.
Yeah, without Samaria and Hookshot, it gets to be kind of dicey on the things that you can complete without out-of-sequence bomb jumps. And finishing off Cold Stare without Cane of Samaria can kind of throw things out of logic.
Yeah, good news is there are a lot of bomb jumps you can pull off in Ice Palace. Elminster's here showing us one of the cooler ones. I think there's like 8 different ones that could potentially be useful. It's a very fun dungeon to play if you're just trying to, I don't know, do things out of order. You can route it more uniquely than most dungeons. I think the Palace of Darkness is the only one that has more flexibility. Yeah.
And it does look like with Solski here in the basement of Hera that the big key was not yet found, so we have a vanilla big key for Tower of Hera.
Not opting to take his regular scheduled Union break, instead actually working through his break. Very industrious, gonna throw that Lagarang a bunch. Unfortunately, sacrificing some frames to do so. I'm not sure exactly where the logic is there, but you know, Red Boomerang, I never understood that anyway.
Right? And Ice Palace so far turning out to be a bust. Still looking for our Samaria, Ice Rod, Hookshot to finish that off. Plus, potentially, whether or not Quake is going to be required for Turtle Rock that the right side Canadian Kakatak crew has not yet found.
Yeah, and Elminster was hoping that he could kind of chill out on all these bomb jumps, but still finding frustration here in Ice Palace. We'll have to go the longest way to get to the bottom, but being as knowledgeable as he is about both games, I wouldn't be surprised to see him finish this even at low health and low equipment. In the meantime, though, Solski showing us a really nice bomb jump in Tower of Hera. Doesn't have the boots, so that's actually pretty difficult to do. You only have a 2-pixel window from which you can pull off that bomb jump. You have to be very close. You can, however, use a spin slash, which will only be released when Link is standing on solid ground, so you can use that to kind of force him to beast standing right against the edge. Gesellschaft, though, going after Ridley with a ton of supers available. Solski, however, getting trolled by the Trolldorm himself. That was unfortunate, but that sometimes happens, even with the best, you know, positioning. Moldorm can just decide to wiggle the wrong way and knock you off. At least it wasn't the center hole. And just like that, Moldorm's down. Maniacal walking into the blind fight. Elminster here is trying to do a very unconventional bomb jump and overall strategy to get to all these chests. It's a very frustrating dungeon in his position. Well, that is Ridley for Gesellschaft. No problems. Definitely used a lot of supers to get it, but that's good enough for you know, the kill. And that is one more Super Metroid boss down. So with just Phantoon to go for Gesellschaft, certainly getting to the point where it's about to be a Link to the Past race for pretty much all these runners. However, Elminster is the only one who has finished up all of the Super Metroid bosses besides Mother Brain, of course. Speaking of bosses, though, Cold Stare on the menu. We gotta thaw out Cold Stare first with Bombos. Now that he is ready to serve, we'll try to do a spin attack. With half a heart, Elminster is the gutsiest man I've seen in a while. I do not believe he has a fairy or any kind of potion, so this is just, yeah, the gutsy thing to do. I guess, you know, when you've gone that far into the dungeon, you pretty much just have to, you know, go for it. But I salute his courage. Gonna save a nope out of that one. Don't blame you, Elm. I'm kind of curious as to when you're gonna come back to here, though. Maybe with the Cane of Samaria? Impressive to even make it to that fight, in my opinion. Floating island here on Death Mountain, though, now that we're on the east side, Solski sees 300 rupees. We have not had a chance to see where Turtle Rock is. Or no, that was Bombos. It looks like our tracker caught that. Shoutouts and thank you. So it looks like Bombos is our required medallion for both, and we are all set on those. Quake is not going to be relevant today. And talk about finding your key under the doormat.
There it is.
Yeah, Cane of Samaria, useful for a lot of things, but biggest of all, getting into Turtle Rock here, which we do need.
Double Bombos, I see, huh?
Yeah, and that does make Misery Mire completable, which is also a really nice cherry on the top. So we're probably going to finish up Death Mountain here, I think, and then come back for Turtle Rock after we finish Misery Mire.
Maybe the Ice Rod is there in Mire to finish up Turtle Rock.
Yeah, and that's a big reason that people will avoid Turtle Rock until they have to go. Of course, Turtle Rock oftentimes tends to have that item too, because there are, what, I believe 6 different item locations if you count Mimic Cave?
Yep.
So we're gonna have a bit of an interesting scenario here where I think all of our runners will have different places in Zelda that they're all going to be at the same time, or at least between each team, trying to find desperately where these last couple of Go Mode items are. Looks like Maniacal's about to pick up that mirror, though, so Bootsless Suitless pretty much on track to find, well, to have access to almost the entire game world.
Oh, Boots! Not Bootsless anymore.
Paradox Cave truly making their name a paradox. Link to the Past being a bro here. Ooh, and that's a nice rod.
Well,
Ice Rod's a really clutch item to find. It can literally be anywhere in the game, either game, honestly, except for behind Trinex, which is the boss that you have to use it for. And so it's very common that, you know, racers will be looking for that for well over half an hour, maybe even an hour in some races. So for Solski to just pluck that out of Paradox Cave really huge advantage for Boots and Suitless.
Yep, with those boots, I'm surprised that we didn't have a save and quit to Sanctuary to do a quick King's Tomb and Bonkrox check.
Seeing as we still don't have the hook shot, which is absolutely required, that is curious. Wow, Elminster, you really want to give Helmasaur King a chance here?
No way, man.
He popped that arrow into the jewel on his face before the shell had even completely disintegrated off the screen. I was like, that's a little rude, Elm.
No wasted time. Solski heading into Misery Mire. Let's check out what there's going on here.
2 item locations total. Not a whole lot to find in Misery Mire, but for the time sink that it is, it would be a terrible place to miss something, so Solski's definitely going to take advantage of an opportunity to open it up. As we mentioned before, when one of your teammates when you or your teammate is ahead, it's generally best to try to full clear things so that you can kind of give your teammates some intel. Looks like Solski's going to take advantage of a much more time-intensive dungeon to try and give his partner an edge, hopefully to be able to skip some of these rooms.
And Solski pretty much punching that Wizrobe in the face with the Samaria block.
You know, it seems appropriate. You know, could have gone golf strats. I appreciate, you know, the close quarters combat style. Kana Samaria really the jack of all trades in A Link to the Past.
I like to use it to navigate dark rooms, because then I can just pick up the block and carry it with me as I'm moving around.
Speaking of block carries, that's a really great way to go up and down staircases extremely fast.
Yeah.
So it would appear, from what I can see, I believe Gesellschaft is on the way to take on Phantoon, which would be the last of the Super Metroid bosses before Mother Brain for her. Solski still needs Ridley, and Maniacal still needs Phantoon, so I gotta think if Canadian Kakatak crew can get their stuff together as far as getting the mirror and the east side of Death Mountain, this could end up being a pretty close race from what we have on our tracker so far.
Yeah, and unfortunately we do know all the items for both Wreck Ship and here in Desert Palace, so Canadian Kakatak crew is not going to be able to find that hook shot as the last link that pretty much anybody needs left in this seed, so...
Yeah, it would definitely seem unlikely that they'll find it first, being that Solski is really the only one covering new ground right now.
Can the hookshot potentially be... Yeah, well, I know it can be in the hookshot cave first chest, because you can bonk to that, but I almost asked a different, silly, very stupid question.
But I mean, you're absolutely right, though. It can be in that hookshot cave, and that's actually happened a couple times to a few restreamed races, not in this tournament, but in other tournaments, not that long ago. So, I mean, it does seem a little odd not to check it, but given that does take some time to transfer into the Dark World, then of course go into the cave, do all that, I mean, it still kind of makes sense. I think it's very low percentage possibility of being there, but if I knew my teammate could also carry me through if I made the time investment, I would probably want to do that.
A couple more locations here to check in Misery Mire for Solski.
We did see
potentially.
Well, we saw a big 20, so there is at least one more item in here.
Yeah, I was gonna say potentially it could just be dungeon items and keys here on the right side, and Vitriates may be holding our last item. Oh, Giselle, super close here on Phantoon. Probably one more missile or a super missile.
That could be the angriest Phantoon I've ever seen.
Yeah, there we go. Alright, so it was just dungeon items on the right side of Mire here. So, there is going to be an item on Vitreous.
Well, Solski is on the way to the basement of Misery Mire here. We'll have a Vitreous fight ahead. It does absolutely have to get the crystal here, so we're not, sparing any time there. It does have the boots, so could set up some interesting speed tech in here, but I don't think that's what we're going for at the moment. Just a vanilla strategy.
Yeah, potentially could be, but I would think that using the cape and boots, especially with Tempered Sword, would likely be the fastest way to do it since he does not have silver arrows yet.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm talking about the spooky action glitch that you can do in the basement.
Oh, I was thinking you were talking about Vitreous fight.
That being said, though, damage boost strat's not really available to us with 4 hearts. Yeah, cape is absolutely the way he's gonna have to go here. I mean, you could still use the bow and arrow. It's just honestly, there's no reason if you have temper to not just cape it.
Yep, and Maniacal going for the hover there, and Paradox doesn't quite make it. He is going for regular arrow strats.
Which is perfectly valid. He does have a lot of arrows to work with. If you were trying to go, say, for like some kind of 0-cycle kill, then, that would be a significant difference, but this is a very safe way to kill Vitreous.
Yeah, gets it done very quickly.
8 arrows, and that is it. So Solski does manage to emerge victorious with very low health. And
the item is... compass.
Did he end up getting the big key chest?
Yeah.
Behind
it was the map. Oh, that was the big key. No, it was a big 20. It was a big 20. My bad.
Oh, so we had 2 big 20s in this dungeon. Well, Maniacal does pick up that Cane of Samaria from the Super Bunny Cave, which we called based on the Super Bunny glitch that you can actually do if you want a sequence break, but not relevant in this race at all. We'll check Hookshot Cave, though, so we do get to find out whether or not Solski had completely abandoned the hookshot in its own namesake. Just the one chest that you can check, and it is going to be misses today.
No hookshot in Hookshot Cave.
I mean, if you're a fan of pressing buttons extremely fast with great precision, you could also hover across those gaps, but, I'm no Superman. I don't think any of these runners are. Maybe one of them could, but I don't expect to see it today.
Maniacal can hover Moldorm too, but I don't know that he would plan to.
Right, it's a pretty small time save, about 6 seconds, but it looks pretty sweet. But we're going to see something interesting from Solski here. He's going to do a bomb dupe, actually, doing the big bomb, letting the timer go to 0, and then actually messing it up, unfortunately.
Not quite.
The idea, though, is if you do it right as it explodes and then go through a screen transition, the bomb will follow you to the other side of the screen transition. So you can use that to jump off the ledge and save yourself some time. Definitely not how we expected that to go, so we're just going to walk through this time.
It's nice when you have the hook shot while you're doing this because you can use the hook shot to grab onto plants or sign posts and things like that, and then you can instantly start dashing after you've stopped, and that doesn't make the bomb stop following you, so it's kind of tricky.
Yeah, that also works with the purple chest as well. Any followers that you can't dash with. So that's a great thing to keep in the back of your mind, particularly if you have that item combination. Well, the Pyramid Fairy has 2 items for us today, and they will be the E-Tank and another Bee in a Bottle.
Yep, and Maniacal heading through Turtle Rock here. I believe just on the right side, behind the fire rod locked area, was a small key and a power bomb, with the spike room being the big key. So we're just going to be progressing through here to the chain chomp room. Ooh, misses that block push.
Which is really scary because these chain chomps do 4 hearts of damage to a green male Link.
One more chomp and he's gone. But he makes it out, so we're good.
I guess those chain chomps are kind of like the guard dogs of the dungeon, trying to take a bite out of crime, Link being the dungeon plunderer. But not quite getting that last bit. Maniacal with 3.5 hearts unfortunately doesn't have powder to heal either, so if I were Maniacal, I would be making a mad dash for the next dungeon entrance so that we can respawn from that point if we do die.
Yep, and Elm did go through and do the Smith sequence and Hammer Peg, so they have their mirror knowledge now.
Oh, Maniacal just got sniped by a Hokuboku, also known as Pokies, in the room before the big chest. Did a sword spin, but for some reason it didn't connect on the second time around fast enough to prevent him from taking the hit.
I think it ended up hitting the skull, and so then it like deflected or didn't hit the second round to the Hokuboku.
That seems very likely, and yeah, that's going to be a big time loss for Maniacal, at least a minute or so. So that's going to cost them.
Elm making the play to go into Swamp Palace without the hookshot, gambling for a vanilla or French vanilla hookshot here in the dam.
And being that it is 6 items, that's, a pretty sensible play. It's just, kind of a gut check moment. That's one you got to feel uncomfortable about. But interestingly enough, we do see 4 different dungeons and 4 different runners, and that's something I always like to see 2 hours into the race. Yeah.
We still don't have, Team Bootless Suitless on the left definitely has a little bit of a lead with the Ice Rod and Samaria, but that hook shot is going to be holding back a lot of people from a lot of things. Oh no, Bunny beamed again! 1 heart! Ooh, smart.
Easy peasy.
Get it.
I do see questions in chat about the randomizer itself. If you're tuning into this race a little bit late, we are playing a crossover randomizer, a cooperative one at that. So our teams both are in voice channels with their teammates, kind of communicating where the item locations are. But this is a connected randomizer between Super Metroid and A Link to the Past, which has 4 cross-world portals through various less than useful rooms in both games, which connect us between the worlds. And you can find the items for each game in each other's worlds. So we are approaching kind of a later portion of the seed where we've done pretty much everything we had to do in Super Metroid. And now we're really just trying to complete most of A Link to the Past so we can finish up these boss fights.
Yep, and Giselle going to the Hammer Pegs here to grab her mirror while Solski finishes up Palace of Darkness and Helmosaur. Elm's still on the hunt for any progression item, specifically looking for the hookshot here in Swamp Palace, as he will need that to complete the dungeon. So we'll see if that pays off for him here.
Maniacal.
That's kind of the right item in the wrong game.
What in the world? Grapple beam in... That just feels wrong. It feels right, but it feels wrong.
It feels bad, man. But also it makes me giggle.
Do you think Elminster feels like he's grasped the correct item here, or do you think he's just kind of... It's kind of a long shot at this point.
That was good. I think he's still holding out hope.
If I were him, I'd be grappling with self-doubt right now. But
oh my gosh.
He's still gonna keep going. Unfortunately, might have to make a double round trip if he wants to get everything on the left side here.
AC 103010 in chat. Do you mean anybody in the race checking Shack Tool? Because we already have checked Shack Tool. Or you just mean like Canadian Cack Attack Crew?
Which actually, they haven't checked Shack Tool on Canadian Cack Attack Crew.
Right, yeah. I was just saying that we know what's a Shack Tool, but the red team doesn't.
Well, that's more boots locations for Solski. Solski, having checked the bonk rocks just west of Sanctuary, does have the King's Tomb available to him, as well as Desert or Graveyard Ledge. So we're going to see those checks, which at this point are just as likely for Hookshot as anything else. Maniacal taking another look at the 4 items on Laser Bridge as well.
Alright, getting that small key that we need to progress over to Trinex. Solski at Graveyard Ledge.
The biggest of 20s.
Maniacal, one more chest. No! There it is! Ah! Go mode for Bootless Suitless.
Oh! Also of note, Maniacal did find Sanctuary Heart and got a clutch full heal from that Sanctuary Heart in Laser Bridge as well. But so, from that, we know that Elminster is jumping back into Swamp after that death, just to go to left side again to not get the hook shot.
Yeah, that hurts.
Ooh, that's brutal.
Solski heading over to the right side Missouri Meyer shed to head into Lower Norfair to grab his fire rod from Golden Chorizo, which would then allow him to finish up in Turtle Rock, grab that hook shot.
Well, I'm kind of curious to see what Elm's doing here. He's saving, or he actually did a hard reset so that he could go back to Samus's gunship to start there in Super Metroid, and I'm kind of wondering where he's heading at this point. He could be heading to Turian?
I don't think so.
No, we're just going to take the portal back to A Link to the Past. Okay, so a little bit roundabout. This may have been actually the faster way for him to get to the... Well...
I mean, he could have mirrored out of Swamp, so I don't...
This is one of those things where, like, we can't really hear what they're talking about in their news channel, and they're probably discussing something right now, because, like, Elm here probably doesn't need to... No, he's not going back to Swamp.
Is he gonna check Bombo's tablet? No.
So nothing in Village of Outcasts is going to be super productive in this direction. Probably checking K45 along the way. Gesellschaft is on the mountain to do Tower of Hera. One thing that they do have going for them, Canadian Cactac crew, is that they have finished more of the dungeons in A Link to the Past than, say, Maniacal has. And if they're looking to try to take an advantage there, they're probably going to be hoping, in that regard, to finish as a team before Boots the Suitless does.
Right. So Maniacal has quite a few dungeons to finish, as you said. Solski also having to go through all of Lower Norfair here and then make the climb back out to finish off Ridley as his last boss in Super Metroid. So Giselle coming over here, finishing up Hera, hopefully will lead her over to the right to check Paradox, get them their boots, their ice rod, and King of Somaria in the Dark World there at Super Bunny Cave, and then possibly dip into Turtle Rock to finish up grabbing their hookshot as well. This is still pretty close. We don't know how it's going to end yet.
I truly think that the best hope, though, for CCC on the right is for Gesellschaft to be heading towards Turtle Rock soon, which is a very viable play, and it's something I might expect to see her do. But that would give them the hookshot and would give them the best chance of kind of catching back up as far as the go mode progression goes. Oh
no, she got hit by that stupid power ball thing and got knocked off. Ugh, that's frustrating.
Yeah, thankfully it has extra bombs and health to work with. This is actually the kind of health you might expect to have running NMG, so this might feel like familiar territory, actually.
Run away! Yay, we did it. Okay. So with Bootsless, suitless, each team member needing one more Super Metroid boss. Canadian Cat Attack crew having finished all bosses for both players in Super Metroid. It's gonna be pretty close. I'm getting like edge of my seat, anxious.
Yeah, and every boss kill that we see is just a little bit closer to the completion of both of these games. Of course, you know, it's not good enough to just be the first one to kill Ganon, not good enough to be the first to kill Mother Brain, it's both. And if you haven't seen the combo randomizer before, once you've defeated Ganon, you get taken back to the top of the pyramid, and once you defeated Mother Brain, back to Samus's ship, I believe?
Yep. And if you beat Mother Brain before you beat Ganon, then the escape sequence ends once you actually climb the escape shaft, and the explosions stop once you get to the criteria surface. So you're able to continue playing through the game and finish up anything that you may have left behind if you've still got progression items within Super Metroid that are required within Link to the Past. And vice versa, obviously, once you kill Ganon, if you're back on the pyramid, you can finish up anything else in Link to the Past.
Yeah, so important note there, absolutely can still access the rest of the game.
Solski at Ridley.
Now that'll be his last boss, and you mentioned before the climb out of Lower Norfair. This is one of the more difficult ones to do, but we are very well equipped for it, and Solski has almost max energy tanks.
Unlike his health in Link to the Past.
Yeah.
I anticipate we may actually see him head through Pink Brinstar to grab the charge beam on his way back to Link to the Past to finish up Turtle Rock and then Swamp Palace. But Giselle is in Paradox Cave, so we will be getting our boots and our ice rod and Cane of Samaria shortly. Really good Ridley fight for Solski, by the way. Solski did just finish up Gold Chorizo before heading to Ridley, so he does have his fire rod. And Link Force in chat pointing out that Giselle actually hovered the bomb hole there in Paradox Cave, and I missed it. Alright, so it does look like our tracker is taking a second just to update. The fire rod is marked on the tracker that I can see on our back end, so it may just be lagging a little bit to update on the stream. So patience, everybody, but it is marked and we do know he has it. So Giselle going to do some bonks here in the hookshot cave, looking for that hookshot. And then, oh, she's gonna hover.
I didn't expect to see this, but that will give us access to the rest of these items pretty quickly.
That's very impressive.
Yeah, the basics behind hovering, there's a small window when you tap the dash button that Link is presumed to be standing on solid ground, and if you time it by pressing and releasing in a short enough amount of time, you can actually trick the game into thinking that Link still is on the ground.
Even diagonals!
It's really hard to do because, you know, it's hard to keep mashing it correctly when you're holding different buttons on the controller. Most people have to hold the controller in a strange way to do that, so even more showing off from Gesellschaft.
That was very impressive. But here she will be grabbing her Cane of Samaria, which will then get her thinking possibly Turtle Rock time. And then grabbing that hook shot right after.
Yeah, and Elminster's also heading up to the mountains, so it seems like both Canadian Cactac crew members have kind of realized the writing on the wall now that all of the items for Turtle Rock are present.
Yeah, and Solski is heading over to Village of Outcasts, so he may be thinking to dip into the back of Skullwoods here to grab that speed booster so he can get Charge Beam. That's what it looks like he's doing.
You know, kind of a strange aside or a thought here, but honestly, this cross-world reminds me a lot of A Link Between Worlds.
I haven't played that, so I don't know.
Oh, you need to. Very great homage to A Link to the Past. But I'm always wondered, you know, because I mean the portals in that game are placed in some interesting locations. What led people to decide on these locations? And then it makes me wonder about the future of the cross randomizer, whether or not any other portals would ever be in consideration, because every single one of them does a lot to the logic.
Yep.
Well, here's Turtle Rock play for both Elminster and Gesellschaft. I think Elminster has a little bit more cave spelunking to do first, but Solski here, gonna find a speed booster, as you mentioned, and definitely not wasting any other time here.
Elm opening up Turtle Rock, knowing that he'll be heading into Super Bunny Cave and then likely mirroring and grabbing Ice Rod for Turtle Rock as well, then coming right back up here and heading into Turtle Rock right after Giselle. And Solski following right behind the Canadian Cactac crew, going up to Turtle Rock for his hook shot.
I'm kind of curious as to how everyone's going to route at this point, because really I think it comes down to each partner trying to find where the big keys are in these dungeons, what the fastest way to get through them is. I got to think Elminster's probably not going to swamp after this. He's going to do anything else that he can. Probably Misery Mire, I would think, to try to help Gesellschaft, because Gesellschaft now actually knows where to go in swamp, knows to not check the left side whatsoever.
Yeah, right. And just quick skip through Palace of Darkness as well. But once they grab that hook shot, they're not going to have to worry about where to go anywhere else in any of the dungeons. So if they just, like you said, remember where the big keys are, that Misery Mire is the only one that's a puzzle right now.
And of course, we've already seen Misery Mire through Solski's side, and of course, Maniacal following not long behind him. So for them, I mean, they pretty much just got Swamp Palace to kind of figure out, and Maniacal's already on it, so this could be quite an execution race. I think Canadian Cactac crew has a bit of an uphill climb here. Yeah.
Though again, Maniacal's still got to finish Fantoon off, and with Solski going to grab Speed Booster, we kind of have an idea that he's likely going to be heading over to grab Charge Beam. So that's also going to take a bite out of their time as well.
We did actually see in the last race between N Squared and Canadian Cactac crew that ammo count literally decided the race, and of course being that both runners had to finish. So that is something that hopefully Bootsless Suitless is keeping very clear in their mind, as that would be a pretty lousy way to give up a lead. But so if they're diligent about that, they can potentially pad their lead right now. As of right now, though, it looks like Maniacal is very likely to be the first one to finish up these seeds.
Yep, I agree. We still have that question of where's the Ganon Tower big key? But I don't think it would be that much of a difference between, who checks right side, who checks left side.
Well, we're seeing still even more hovers from Gesellschaft, acing pretty much every single one he's tried. Every single one she's tried, except for one of them in Hookshot Cave. Kind of ridiculous, in my opinion, to be able to do them in the first place. But you know, some people are good at games. I'm definitely not.
Me either.
There's a reason to commentate. In the meantime, though, Maniacal has finished up Swamp Palace. It is down to Palace of Darkness and the Helmosaur King, which we really have a straight shot towards before Maniacal can look at that Gans Tower climb. So, looking to be about 2:30 or so into this race when we'll be coming up on the top of that tower. That's a fast progression.
Yeah. Giselle heading down to the laser bridge. She will be finding her hookshot shortly and letting Elm know. And after that, they will also be in their go mode, respectively, for Canadian Cacatech.
And this is going to be a moment of relief and potentially anguish for both of them when Gesellschaft finds the hookshot in here. Elm will probably feel not so great about having spent all that time in Swamp on the left side, but they'll at least know what they need to do. Ooh, Gesellschaft taking a laser, getting 1.0'd. Will, however, benefit from the safety door that we just opened. Solski, though, hot on her heels, though, also in Turtle Rock, and really just has Swamp Palace to deal with after this. And even a little bit of a high five there in the laser bridge.
All right, and that is go mode for Canadian Cacatech crew.
So thinking of things that work in their favor, since they are probably trailing in this race at this point. If you're a CCC fan, you're probably hoping that the go mode Swamp Palace, the go mode for Palace of Darkness, since we're going right to Helmosaur King, and of course Misery Mire being a relatively decent go mode as well, kind of working in their favor for execution reasons, but having completed so many fewer dungeons, kind of an issue. We'll have to see how things turn out in Super Metroid, because that's probably the less predictable finish between these two teams.
Yep, and with the Bootsless Suitless also running around with their tempered swords rather than the Master Sword, so also a little bit of an advantage.
Well, here are some boss fights simultaneously. We got Trinex Rizzy backdoor strats from Solski here, which is pretty brave. Gesellschaft and Elminster actually only have Master Sword each, and this may end up being relevant. This Master Sword Ganon is pretty difficult, and we know where all four of those swords are.
Yeah, I don't believe that they ever went through Eastern Palace to find that other sword. And once again, our tracker Shalashalska pointing out that Solski did not check the left sand pit in Meridia, and so he doesn't have silvers. And Giselle is actually heading into Mire instead of Elminster. All right. Just one heart. Oh my gosh. Get him! Okay. Elm finishes off Turtle Rock, gets Try Next done as Solski heads into Swamp Palace. Maniacal is doing his climb to GT, so if you guys would like to throw out some guesses at the Ganon Tower Big Key location, we can kind of give a little play to that. I think that my guess would likely be chest number 9 or the Fire Snake Room, most specifically. So,
well, I've always been a fan of Bob. I'm hoping to see it at chest 14 today.
Nice. Let's see where this goes.
As we commonly see at the beginning of Ganon's Tower, Maniacal will be heading to the right side first. There are 2 chests here, and then of course you can use the Cane of Samaria to continue forward if you get 1 key. Maniacal gets 2, so he's going to keep going right.
Alright, so Giselle did start like she was going to go into Misery Mire and then went to Pod, so it's a little bit crazy for a minute there that I thought that they were going to go through that, but Elm is actually going to do exactly like you said earlier. He's going to start with Misery Mire, find that big key so that Giselle can go mode and finish up the remaining dungeons.
Yeah, and this communication's pretty clutch. Not doing so would be a huge detriment, because if they ended up just like splitting their efforts in the same dungeon, I doubt that they would have a chance to catch up here. Well, we are still not, well, there's the big key.
Oh, well, right side, paying off.
So that would have been chest number 5, I believe. Well, congratulations if 5 was what you thought. You win not a lot of anything. We don't have a leaderboard for this, but you do get our eternal love and praise.
Yeah, serious business, guest 5, so GG's on that guess.
In the meantime, though, we used to have some more boss assassinations to work with. Solski here going after the last the last Zelda 3 boss before Ganon's Tower. Really struggling with words here. Solski taking down Argus, the one-eyed pirate king, with a 0 cycle attempt. Oh, almost pulling that off. That was a pretty good start.
That was very close.
Nevertheless, still a good boss kill. Getting hit a little bit there, but not a big problem.
Alright, so Giselle looks to be heading now towards Swamp Palace after finishing up Palace of Darkness. We already know where the big key is, and she should just be picking that up and then heading straight to the back to finish up Argus, same as Solski has done. Solski will be also heading up to his Ganon Tower climb shortly as well.
Actually, the really nice thing about Swamp Palace is we don't even have to find that big key. We just need to have a small key to get to the back, because you can actually go right through.
That's true.
So Go Mode Swamp is definitely a much more lucrative way to do the dungeon. That being said, it's still a couple dungeons, and Maniacal is in Ganon's Tower with Solski joining him, so while I do know that Gesellschaft and Elminster are both very talented as far as the speedrun of this game goes, it's hard to say whether or not they're going to be able to overcome this difference.
Yep.
But it is Super Metroid and A Link to the Past, 16-bit era Super Nintendo games. You never know.
And with Solski picking up that speed booster, I still expect that he'll be going to pick up Charge Beam before heading into Torian, as well as Maniacal also still needing to finish off Van Tomb before heading to Torian. So there is just a tiny bit of room where Canadian Kakatak crew may be able to catch up, but we'll have to see. With them only having Master Sword, Solski not having silvers, it's pretty up in the air, and it's going to be a really, really close race.
One thing that could absolutely help Canadian Cacti crew is if they can both pull off the Canis Samaria strats against Ganon to get extra sword spins, because the faster those phases go, the more likely it is that they're not going to have to repeat the fight, as that is a fight that a lot of people end up falling on. Well, not quite a zero. Oh, maybe it was. Nope, one cycle for Elminster here, but the silvers are pretty good. Alright, so that is all of the information that Canadian Cacti crew will need at this point. Swamp Palace can be a pretty quick finish for Gesellschaft, and possibly even a zero cycle attempt from her. I know she's done it before. Misery Mire will be a fast complete. Unfortunately, that cutscene room is required, so there's really no time save involved. But at least we're not going to check everything. Maniacal being a true bro, though, making sure that we know that the Vanilla 20 chest after Moldorm 2 is actually going to be a Vanilla 50 today. And he will be the first one to Aghanim 2, which is actually a refight in this randomizer today, interestingly enough.
Who doesn't love Agaseeds? I mean, wow, that was a nice triple.
Yeah, perfect setup for it. As we've mentioned before, the RNG is set, so I don't think anybody's going to pull off a double triple there, but definitely an excellent first triple there, and 3 cycle is a very good Aga 2 fight. Oh, I forgot they don't have Tempered Sword, so we're not going to see a zero cycle from Canadian Cacti crew here.
Unfortunately.
Well, that puts Solski in Ganon's tower with the key and climbing up the tower. Maniacal entering the Ganon fight now. We get to see just how fast a Tempered Sword Ganon is. Assuming everything goes well, should be able to get 1 cycle for each of these first 2 phases, but not a very good setup for the first phase so far for Maniacal.
And Giselle finishing up Swamp Palace there. We'll be heading over to Misery Mire. This gives Elm a little bit of a chance to finish up Argus here and then head towards GT to start looking for that Ganon Tower big key.
Yeah, and it's hard to say which way Elm's going to go. I mean, I don't think he's going to do anything that's kind of gambly. You got to think, like, I mean, if you know your partner's coming up behind you, you might as well just kind of go for what would be fast. I don't know. There's a lot of different thoughts and different ways to look at it, so it's hard to kind of predict what these runners will do here.
I suspect he'll probably do the same thing as Maniacal and just seeing those 2 small keys in the first chest head directly right.
There is some thought out there that if you find 2 keys, that usually means by logic it's likely to be on the right side. So
yeah.
And then, of course, if you find 4 keys on the left, you just give up on the left, stuff like that. Everybody's got their way of looking at reading the logic, but, you know, it's always a unique situation every time you pull out the seed, and Maniacal is actually going to be our first to finish off Ganon here.
Yep, let's get 1G in chat for Maniacal of Bootless Suitless. Having finished up Ganon, he will be saving and quitting and then heading directly to Super Metroid to finish up Vantoon and then head into Torian.
Yeah, so it only took him a little over 2.5 hours, pretty much 2.5 to get to the top of the tower. At this point, still has to do Vantoon and get to Mother Brain, so there's still some time involved. And of course, being the first one to finish, you know, it's not always the best position to be in. It's kind of tense, I have to imagine, waiting to see if your opponent's going to be faster than your opponents, or if your teammates can be faster than your opponents. And yes, Lord Nav, it is a pretty good indication that you're close to the end here. It's not a guaranteed, though, but pretty much everybody who runs this is going to be trying to finish off Ganon and then go off and finish Mother Brain shortly thereafter.
And Elm also now getting his 7th crystal.
Yeah, and it looks like the communication between Team CCC has worked out pretty well, as Gesellschaft's not that far from the Vitreous fight. Well, maybe I should have had more faith. I mean, you mentioned before that Fantoon was going to be a bit of a time sink, and you weren't kidding. Maniacal has a long way to go to get to this fight.
Yep.
Precious time that CCC needs.
With Super Metroid, you can't save and quit and then just restart back at the ship. You got to walk all the way back over there. So, and Solski taking a fall to Moldorm 2, so just a couple more seconds for Canadian Kakatak crew to catch up.
Well, I'm excited to see how this is going to finish at this point. Gesellschaft actually showing us that spooky action tech in the basement. So
nice.
You get to see, it seems like the fire rod's hitting switches from great distances, and this is because we set an altitude value, and long story short, complicated game logic, mechanics systems, we break the game, but it's not to a point where it's so crazy that, you know, we're skipping major content, so it's generally permitted in most versions of Randomizer. It does save about 10 seconds total, Gesellschaft pulling it off flawlessly. And that 10 seconds may actually be relevant. It does also get a 0 cycle.
Alright, Elm heading into his Ganon Tower just as Solski is at Aganon 2. Maniacal still finishing through with Fantoon. Well, finishes it off. Very nicely done.
Looks like Solski has a Ganon's Tower advantage on Elminster here, and pretty much on Gesellschaft as well, plus a climb of the mountain. This is getting so tight.
He's going left.
And he killed Bob. Elm, why? Now, the good news for Team CCC is that, of course, because of the head start that Elminster has over Gesellschaft, they're likely to split their, focus and go different directions. So they'll probably end up pretty close to each other here. Which is all the same or just as good anyway, because, it doesn't matter who finishes first, just matters when the person finishes last. There is a chance that Elminster could find a sword.
Is there? I thought we'd seen all of them.
I'm still not sure on that one.
Yeah, because the first one was at Eastern on Armos. The second one is at the top of the Red Tower. The third one was at the Norfair Reserve. And the fourth one... I know we've seen it. I know we've seen all four of them.
Also, thanks and shoutouts to Wild Anaconda for telling me that Bob has been patched out, so we can never kill Bob. That's actually really great news to me.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Wild. Oh yeah, the fourth sword was at Edicoons.
I don't know why anybody would hide a Game Boy Advance cart there, but,
Nice. Alright, Solski still working through phase 2 of Ganon here as Maniacal drops into the Turian elevator. Giselle, go right, go right, go right.
And
menu, yes!
With some golf strats, very nice.
Elma's gonna be a little frustrated, but we'll see.
Yeah, so here comes phase 4 coming up pretty soon here for Solski for his Ganon fight, mentioning where the arrows were, which he did not actually pick up, so this is going to be a sword spin finish. He needs 12 sword spins, which you can do as Ganon's about to warp, in order to pull this off. Now, the thing about this fight, though, is that he does not have half magic, so getting that torch glitch initially was pretty important. You can use the fire rod to try and get 3 spins per cycle, but if you run out of magic, you're in a pretty bad bind. I'm pretty sure he has 1 green potion, though.
Yeah, he did go by a potion, so we'll have to see. No Ganon falls. Giselle opting for a warp, a death warp here instead of using the mirror, as she only had 2 or 3 hearts. So this is also to refill her health a little bit more before starting the climb. Maniacal going for a baby skip.
And almost. Yahtzee.
And gets it. Nice.
I know that they make it look pretty easy, but I mean, that's not.
Elm's out of magic here at the Gibdos, so he's going to have to switch to bombs.
Does help to know what to do with, you know, low percentage available to you. He has done other speedruns that, like we mentioned before, are low percent in general. So that game knowledge really paying off for him here.
Yep. Alright, Solski heading into Super Metroid. As we've said before, he'll probably head down to Green Brinstar into the Big Pink to grab Charge Beam since he picked up the Speed Booster, but it may come down to how much ammo he has once he hops into the ship here to refill, so we will see.
45 supers isn't too bad. 80 missiles. I'm trying to think how much he's going to need for Torian here.
Yeah.
Yeah, given that could be a big difference in the race, even with all the health he's got, you know, it's just not worth it to be out of ammo. Looks like Maniacal will be the first one to the Mother Brain fight, though. With Charge Beam already in inventory, not going to have too much trouble. I can't foresee Maniacal dying to this fight at this point.
Yep, and Solski did head to the left here, so he is going into Brinstar to pick up that Charge Beam. Probably just wants to play it really safe.
I do find it kind of interesting that Gesellschaft overtook Elminster because of that left-right. So it does have a head start over her teammate right now.
Yeah, and Solski would need to use power bombs on the Metroids as he did not pick up Ice Beam.
Oh, okay, so that is a time loss for him because that is rather slow.
Yeah, same with Giselle and Elm though. They also don't have ice. Giselle finished up with Lamo 2, heading into the second half of the gauntlet here with the Wiz Robes.
Yeah, and so it's always fun to watch Ganon's Tower, high execution, you know, segment of the game, and you get to see a lot of really cool tech, but it's getting pretty close here to the end, and not a whole lot left to do here on either side of the race.
Yep, and Solski tried to spark up that small little hallway after Waterway and ended up clipping the corner right after the doors, so a little bit more of a time loss there. Giselle here at the torch rooms. Oh no, she took a fall.
Good news is there is a magic refill.
Yeah.
Still, I gotta think that Elm's probably gonna finish up Super Metroid faster than Gesellschaft, so every second lost here probably pretty costly.
Yeah, it may end up being that Elminster is able to pull off the stand-up glitch. I'm not sure if Giselle has been practicing that, or even a baby skip, but we will see when it comes down to that as they get closer to their Torian race fights here.
Well, that is Mother Brain for Maniacal, so Maniacal has managed to get through both of the bosses. At this point, just needs to finish up the escape sequence, which is pretty straightforward. Solski looking to do the same, entering Torian now. as Team Canadian Kakatak crew, both at the top of Ganon's tower, looking to finish up a Ganon fight and Torian. So, a bit of a hefty advantage for Bootsless Suitless, and I would think it's pretty much their race to lose at this point.
Yeah, for sure.
And Elm has finished up Moldorm 2. Gesellschaft working on Aga 2 right now. Pretty soon to be at the same screen as her teammate. Then finishing up Ganon, I imagine, right around the same time. Master Sword fights, though, a bit more prolonged.
Oh, and some of those Metroids not taking a hit from the extra flash of the power bomb, so Solski had to use 4 there.
Alrighty, and Maniacal heading up to the very end of Super Metroid. I don't believe I saw any animals saved.
Nope, no animals.
Moonwalks at the Hyper Ring to finish up. Do you have the SRL open?
I do. The first place finish for Maniacal, an official SRL time of 2 hours, 45 minutes, and 58 seconds.
And of course, that ain't good enough, though. We'll have to have his teammate Solski finish up before their opponents first. Although, as we've been talking about, very likely to do so at this point. We get to see some nice Master Sword strats, though, from both Gesellschaft and Elminster. Gesellschaft showing us the Cane of Samaria block sword spins, which is a really great way to get extra spins in per cycle.
Solski got munched on, so he's just going to be filling up his health and then continuing through.
It would appear that Elminster has taken a death at Ganon here. Will have to restart the fight, which is pretty frustrating for his in his shoes, because he's still working with Master Sword and can't really do all the same strats without half magic.
All right, and Solski into the Mother Brain room.
Looking like he's committing to refilling, as he's not going for that Zeb skip. I believe he didn't have enough ammo?
He did get charged, so...
Oh!
I think he's just going to go for it. All right.
That'll bring us to the final Mother Brain fight for Solski, and then Gesellschaft pulling off some pretty difficult Master Sword spins to try and line up some silver arrows as well. Very easy to fall off at this phase of the fight.
Alright, Giselle getting to the silver arrows here on Ganon. She has no magic.
She has enough to light it once, I believe.
No, she was just using the lantern and it wouldn't go.
May have been waiting, actually. Probably delaying to get a better, more favorable Ganon ward.
No.
That should be enough magic, though. That doesn't make sense.
Because she switched to Fire Rod and... Oh man, that's...
I mean, you're
sad.
right, but it just doesn't look right on the meter. Like,
I agree, yeah.
Well, that's absolutely brutal.
Elm with 3 hearts doing his Master Sword spins.
Well, on the bright side, Gesellschaft does know where to find a full magic decanter, so we'll do so by the portal over here on the right side of Kakariko Village.
And Elm finishing up Ganon for the first player of Canadian Kakatak crew.
I'm just still bewildered about this magic thing.
Yeah, that's really frustrating. And very, very confusing.
Nevertheless, though, Elminster, having finished up Ganon, will be heading towards that Mother Brain fight himself, likely to finish ahead of Gesellschaft at this point. Yeah, RD Walsh, V, and Chad saying, game's weird, man. I absolutely agree with that. That's an old sage named Blum Bunny would describe it that way. Don't tell him I called him old. But Elm gets a G. Let's give him a G in chat as well.
He just reset, probably because he didn't refill at the ship.
Makes a lot of sense. I'm definitely gonna not want to have to do that later. Pretty much impossible to get a full refill where you need it.
Alright, Solski entering into the escape sequence here.
I gotta admire Gesellschaft for not giving up after that loss to the first, fight against Ganon. I mean, it's frustrating enough having to do this with Master Sword, but to have the magic meter kind of display that way, and you think that you can use your lantern. Personally, I would have thrown in the towel. I'm impressed that she's still going. Holy moly, with half a heart to work with.
Yikes.
Ooh, Solski actually misses his hyper jump there, the shine spark, so that's gonna be a fun climb up the shaft here, but not a problem though. Plenty of time to work with the escape. Not gonna time it out or anything. This is the last segment here.
Oh, no.
To add further insult to further injury, a first death to Ganon there for Gesellschaft. But Solski does finish up. Do we have a time on him as well?
Yep, second place official SRL time of 2 hours, 52 minutes, and 45 seconds.
So GG's in chat, folks, for Maniacal42 and Solski, bootsless, suitless, who will advance in the tournament here in the losers bracket. They have successfully managed to win this race. We'll see if we can get them in here for an interview. In the meantime, continue to cheer on Elminster and Gesellschaft as they finish up their seeds, not that far behind them.
We may be able to do a quick interview, but we have a Celeste tournament that's supposed to be starting on this stream.
Oh,
right now.
This slot.
Yeah. So.
Let's see here. I'm gonna see if I can try and grab them real quick then.
Welcome, bootsless, suitsless.
We have no suits. How's it going?
Have both suits and boots.
We did find both suits and both boots.
Yes, GG.
Oh, thank you.
How are you feeling? Not quite eliminated yet. We'll have to keep you around for another round or two.
I was assault mine for
hopefully.
15. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, dude.
I was gonna say I was assault mine for 15 minutes. The last 15 minutes of that race, but other than that, I was great.
Understandably so.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
dude! When that space pirate, the hero space pirate at Escape, just goes full 300 and kicks through speed and a beam, and just like, no, you're climbing. Oh, that voice chat was interesting.
Plus,
I was dying.
double fall
It was pretty
to
great.
Moldorm 2 there, Solski.
Oh my god, yeah, that was bad. I felt Moldorm 1 too. I was like, okay, the first one was like, okay, that was really bad. And then the second one was like, are you kidding me right now? It's pretty bad luck, but that's fine.
I mean, it's certainly better than falling to like a hover attempt.
Yeah.
But how do you guys feel? I mean, it's a 3-hour race, and your opponents are not that far behind you.
Yeah, I mean, we weren't sure. We figured if Quake was required that we were probably in really good shape, but then Quake wasn't required, and we were just like, oh, we don't know, because it was very reasonable with both suits being early and full Super Metroid access being early, that one of the two of them may have gone to early Aghanim and gotten behind it, and scouted out and found items where we were just kind of, you know, spinning our wheels and looking all over the place. But like, it could have been a more efficient route if you went to Aga early, and so we weren't entirely sure where we were.
And it did seem like, you know, pretty much everybody did make that, you know, Aghanim commitment right around an hour into the race, which was interesting on our end because, you know, anytime you see Aghanim late in the race, that's usually like a pretty drastically bad sign for everybody involved. But no, it seemed like that was pretty much on pace with, you know, the entire race overall. But so, I mean, I gotta wonder, you know, with all the great names of this these teams, how'd you feel when you found when you know we're no longer bootsless and no longer suitless? I mean, like, what happened to your voice chat?
Well, I was pretty hyped when Mushroom was Gravity because I felt like we were probably the first to that. So I felt like that was a good thing to push, and then getting to Flute, like Meridia wasn't a whole lot. It was basically just Flute and Silvers. But we had to do some really weird stuff because we were otherwise just going to end up kind of routing on top of each other because of how stupidly linear the middle of the seed was.
Yeah, I believe you guys actually found both suits first, as well as both Rods, Kane, and Mirror.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's why I liked when Maniacal, we made the call to go Lower Norfair while I was chasing Aghanim. And then he found Fire Rod there, which was great information. But it was at the point where we were trying to get around that, and we had so many locations available, and the sea was just like not happening.
Yeah, and it was totally on me for not checking the waterfall ferry and sending Solski to Aghanim. We forgot that he didn't have, or I forgot he didn't have Moon Pearl when he went there, and he forgot that I didn't have Moon Pearl the last time I was in A Link to the Past, and so just what a mess that turned out to be.
Yeah, so that's important because with Flippers at pod, I was like, watch it be a waterfall cave. He's like, I'm preparing for rage. It's okay. But it was fine. It was fine.
Yeah, well, so with this victory, I believe you are going to be facing off against whoever is the loser of Team Wildcard versus Snappy Swine host. Does that make? Yeah. How's the? Oh no, sorry, Fire Rod Locked and Gegar Gang, which is our next match.
Seffi's team.
We get the winner of that, so bring on Seffi and Sloters. No, I like Sinus and Lachlan too. I'd be happy to face either of those teams. But
yeah, and their race is on Tuesday, so
yeah, it's coming up. So we'll know soon enough who we get to play, and then after that, if we win that match, we would face the Big Key Hunters And then there's potential that we would run into whoever's on the other side of the losers bracket, whether it be, Snappy's Hawaiian Host, Wildcard. I think Stoop's product is still down in the scrum and trying to fight their way back in. There's a bunch of teams over there.
Yeah, and it's been a pretty stacked bracket altogether, for the number of entrants that we have. I'm pretty excited to see where this bracket's going to end up, because you guys put on a pretty fantastic show for us today. And of course, I'd like to remind everybody watching, give these guys a follow. Everybody involved in this race, they're all very entertaining to watch. And of course, we'll have plenty more.
Actually have Elmin Jazz in the Discord as well.
GG to Elminster and Gesellschaft. I think I'm going to yield the floor to them, since I want to give them time, since I know we're shorter on time.
Yeah, that was a rude seed. I feel like that seed was particularly bad for 2v2. Like, it would have been interesting for 1v1, but
I agree.
there's a lot of weird bottlenecks, and it took us a while to really, it took us a while for some of the stuff to occur. Like, there was still a lot open, but AGA was still required, and we didn't have access to Death Mountain for forever, and backdoor Meridia being required is crazy.
Yeah, that hammer.
Yeah,
there were a lot of weird locations.
Yeah, we got hammer, and Solski was ahead of me, and I immediately said, go check Waterfall, because we forgot to break Waterfall Ferry, and then immediately backdoor Meridia, because we knew it had to be there at that point. Because that we'd cleared everything to avoid AGA.
Yeah. I think we did, we weren't going to win despite, hiccups at the end or not, but I think we did pretty well, in considering the seed.
I want to call special attention to the amazing hovers seen left, right, center, up, down, and sideways from Gesellschaft. That was pretty intense.
Yeah, I just wish I didn't screw up at Ganon, because I don't know, that's what I'm really frustrated about. But thank you.
To be fair, it is like Master Sword.
No,
3 hours into a race.
Yeah, that doesn't change anything for me. There are a lot of firsts this race that have never happened before. It's pretty frustrating, and I don't know why there wasn't enough magic for the last spin with lamp and half magic.
That's something that doesn't make any sense. I've never seen that. I mean, Elm, Solski, Maniacal, have any of you guys ever seen, you can see some visible magic in your half magic meter, but you still can't use lantern?
You should be able to use the magic, and with half magic, it should work. And that's the only reason why.
I've had it happen.
I actually counted my magic. That's why I was floored. And
yeah, I've had that happen to me once before too. It's really frustrating, because you're like, there's magic there. Why isn't it working?
I haven't run into that one yet.
It probably has to do with ticks from Kane or Cape.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
I never use Cape on Gan either. I'm like, well, I guess I should use Cape, and I'm like, well, I'm not even using Cape good, because literally, Master Sword is never a problem, with or without silvers. So to me, I'm like, okay, it's not a big deal. I'll just do Samaria. Couldn't get the first cycle, or whichever for cycle 1, but the magic HUD is actually just a physical representation of how much magic you're supposed to have, but there's a number system behind it. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if the Cape or something was screwy with it, because I know there's some weird stuff with tier 3 pulls, and there's a couple of other quirks with the crossover rando, but it was just yeah, I don't know. And then from there, it was whatever.
That being said, though, I mean, sure, the way it finished out was, fantastic from a runner's side. Doesn't feel good to come in second, but I mean, the entire race was full of really awesome execution. From a viewer's perspective, this was an amazing race to watch. All 4 of you put on a really great show for us today, and honestly, I think all of you have something to be proud of, in your performance in this tournament. I've seen, all of you race at this point, and there's no slacking from anybody involved here. We got to see excellent strats from everybody. Yeah, so we were pretty baffled about that magic. I think we did get a bit of an explanation, or at least some likely explanation, between the 4 of you. And of course, little things like that can happen. But the fun thing is, the most important thing is that we all had fun doing this, and it's definitely a learning experience for everybody involved.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun doing this. I
wish I could have been in your guys' voice channels.
Just learning, just kind of, I don't know. Oh, I've seen it happen in LTTV Rando as well. But anyways, words. Yeah, I don't know. Like we Giselle's learned so much about SM in like the last 2 weeks. And like I don't need to hold her hand on stuff anymore, which is really great. And it's like I don't know. We learned a lot about like how to communicate with each other through this, which is pretty huge.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Yes, last week was actually the first time ever completed a combo crossover rando seat at all. Just been really pressed for time and a bunch of other things, so like just a lot of scrambling and trying to get on top of things. And yeah, I'm just really frustrated because like everything went fairly well. I made some really like silly errors, so there's a lot of like artificial kind of time loss happening, but then just the end, like I don't know what happened. I even knew where temper was and everything. I'm like, yeah, I don't care about temper. I'm not gonna go for it. At most to get like 2 cycles on Ganon or whichever, and then away we go. And I don't know, this is the only reason why I'm frustrated.
Yeah, it's okay. Like we did a lot of good too.
Yeah, like obviously GG's to our opponents. I was really looking forward to it. It's just like literally at the very end. That's the only reason why I'm really frustrated and everything else going on. And but yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. I very much enjoyed it. Just doing through Metroid. I want to play a lot more of the crossover and SM in general.
And we're looking forward to seeing, everybody involved here doing more of this. I think that, this may be the first time a lot of us have had the opportunity to see cooperative randomizer, let alone a crossover at that. So the depth of knowledge required to do this is staggering, in my opinion. I think a lot of viewers would probably agree. I think that based on what I saw today, everybody should be proud of their performance. You guys all left it out on the fields of Hyrule and, of course, the various caverns of Zebes. And I'm looking forward to seeing, everybody else, race this further in the future as well. But we probably should clear out of the way for the Celeste race that should be on this channel. Maniacal and Solski, you guys have anything you'd like to share with your fans?
No, just wanted to thank Elm and Gesellschaft again for the race and echo Elm's sentiments that Gesellschaft has made such massive strides in Super Metroid in the past couple weeks. It's been a lot of fun. I dropped in on her stream and have chatted a bit, and she picks stuff up super fast, and so is absolutely a scary opponent in this game already at only a couple weeks in. It's really impressive.
Oh, thank you. It's very kind of you to say.
It's well earned, but also thank you to Eudaimonistic and Ms. Metroid for the commentating and the trackers for tracking and restream and all the good business of this. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. GG's.
Yeah, GG.
GG's. And yeah, no, I was really looking forward to facing it too.
Yeah.
And thank you so much.
Yeah. Sorry. I just wanted to say, like, even though this kind of ended on a low note for us, for our team, still really happy with, the race overall and everything that we got to do.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I think that's most of what I wanted to ask you guys. And of course, we are trying to clear out for, Celeste coming up next, which is also a fantastic game to watch. And of course, you guys want to catch everything in this tournament, your best way to do so, you can definitely join the 2v2 Rando Discord or the Super Metroid Link to the Past crossover randomizer Discord of its own that's not related to the tournament. Of course, you'd want to catch all these tournament matches. You should follow Speed Gaming 2 through 6, and potentially even a cross-lingual restream on Speed Gaming Espanol, Speed Gaming Francais, and Speed Gaming Deutsch as well, if you like to catch it in Spanish, French, or German. But I'd like to thank Ms. Metroid for joining me on the commentary and for carrying me for the Super Metroid knowledge. Thank you so much. And of course, the racers for putting on this show. And I'd like to give this to Ms. Metroid to close us out.
All right, well, thank you again, Elminster, Giselle, Maniacal, and Solski. You guys were very entertaining to watch. Thank you so much for participating in the tournament, and good luck to Bootless Suitless for your next round. Just to finish it off, to tomorrow we have the weekly race at 3 p.m. Eastern. Anybody's welcome to pop in and join. I believe that is on... Oh, we don't have a channel for that yet. Okay, never mind. That's tomorrow at 3 p.m. And then Monday, we have Fail Guys versus the Baja Blasters, which is Lenofist and Metroid MST versus Albies and Oats and Goats. So you guys are welcome to pop over and see that as well.
That sounds pretty exciting.
All right. Well, next to the tournament races. And thank you so much to everybody for running. Thank you, Speed Gaming, for hosting. Hope you guys have a great evening.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next mission.